Hey everyone. Welcome back for the fifth part of What If Naruto Was Raised by the Sannin? As always, huge thanks to all of my Patreons. Making these videos would be impossible without you guys' support, especially with all the restrictions YouTube places on my type of content. As always, the full story is already out over there for you guys along with about 30 other different stories you can enjoy. Also feel free to send me any messages over there if you have any questions or even if you just want to chat. Link to all of that will be in the description. Anyways, everyone, enjoy the video. Chapter 26. The training ends. Or. New jutsu, new feelings. Training ground 3. Naruto spread his right hand, focused his mind, and channeled his chakra through his arm. Rasengan. The spiraling blue sphere formed above the blonde's open palm, small at first, but started to grow with each second, until its growth suddenly stopped. Naruto tried to focus even more, as he forced the sphere to expand. Come on Naruto, you almost have it. Jiraiya cheered him on. It's too hard. Naruto replied, visibly struggling. You're doing fine. Remember, don't force the contained chakra too much, let it flow freely, Jiraiya continued. It's easier said than done. The blonde protested. During that second, Naruto lost focus for a moment, and it was enough to destabilize the chakra sphere, which exploded, knocking the Jinchuriki on his back and engulfing him in a cloud of dust and dirt. Naruto? Are you okay? Jiraiya asked as he waved the dust away with hands. Why yes. The blonde replied, coughing a little. Let me try again. Actually, Jiraiya stopped him before he could. You've been working on it all morning, and you look like you could use some rest. Come on, we can continue later. Jiraiya then sat under their usual tree and patted a spot alongside him, hinting Naruto to take a seat beside him. The blonde reluctantly obliged. Don't feel so bad, kid. You're doing it fine. It took the 3 years to develop that jutsu, and 6 months for me to learn it. You learned it in less than 1 week, Jiraiya praised him. Naruto didn't seem to appreciate Jiraiya's words. Yeah well, it's because I used shadow clones. Jiraiya snorted. What, and you think I didn't? And I still can't do it one-handed, Naruto continued. Neither could I, at first, but I eventually got it down. And so will you, the white-haired Sannin assured him. I guess you're right, Naruto conceded, even if he wasn't so sure himself. They spent the next minutes resting and silent. And there's where Jiraiya noticed that there was something wrong, or at least weird, with his son, since Naruto doesn't do silence. He didn't remember the last time the kid was silent by his own volition. There was something in his mind, and the Toad Sage knew it had nothing to do with either mastering the Rasengan or the impending Chunin exam finals. Hey kid, something in your mind? Jiraiya asked all of a sudden. Huh? Naruto was snapped from his thoughts, and turned to Jiraiya. No, why do you ask? You seem awfully quiet as of late. Mind telling me why? Jiraiya inquired. I've just been thinking. That's about it, was Naruto's reply. Thinking about what? Jiraiya pressed. Stuff, Naruto uncomfortably replied. Naruto, you can talk to me about anything, you know that, right? Jiraiya asked. Yeah, I know, Dad, this is nothing you should worry about, Naruto assured. Jiraiya decided not to pressure Naruto further. Alright then. They spent a few more minutes without trading a word. And Jiraiya's decision to not to pressure Naruto paid back much earlier than he had anticipated. Dad, you and Mom used to be in the same team, right? Naruto asked. I believe you know that already, Jiraiya answered matter-of-factly. And, when did you realize that you liked her? Jiraiya looked pensive, as if recalling the memories of a distant time. Well, now I don't feel I can tell. Truth be told, it has been so long that I feel that I have always been in love with Tsunade Hime. Naruto frowned. Come on, you're not that old. Well, thanks, but as the years pass, memories start to fade, Jiraiya replied, and then grinned at Naruto. Why are you asking me this? Is there a girl you like? This time it was Naruto who looked pensive. That's the problem, I just don't know. Is it about that Hyuga girl, Hinata? Jiraiya asked. Naruto just nodded. That complicated things further. I thought you said you only liked her as a friend? The Toad Sage asked. Naruto sighed wearily. That's the problem. I'm not sure anymore. Hinata and I have been friends since I can remember. And it was awesome. She's nice, generous, kind, a good listener, anything anyone could ask, but now, I'm starting to see her under a different light, like I'm starting to notice things about her I never paid attention before, and sometimes it feels as if I'm talking to a stranger, when in the past I could talk to her about anything. Yup, sounds like a textbook teenage crush to me, Jiraiya stated. And what should I do? Should I ask her out? Wait a bit? See if she feels the same way towards me, or if she likes somebody else? Oh Kami, what if she does like somebody else? Naruto started to panic. Jiraiya put a comforting hand on his godson's shoulder. Take it easy, you know none of that. For the time being, let's focus on the training, okay? The last thing you need right now is a distraction like that. Once the exams are over, I promise I will help you with this as well. Naruto tried to calm down. Oh okay, Dad, I'll do as you say, Naruto replied. After a few seconds, the blonde realized of something. Dad, when you made the teams, why did you put me with Hinata? The two of you got along rather fine, and I thought that you'd make a great team. The fact that you were also friends with that ice-release ninja, Haku, is what made me choose him for the third member. That, and the fact that the three of you had the best qualities for the assault squad, Jiraiya explained. Would you have preferred being placed on another team? Oh, no. I love my team, it's awesome. It's just, well, I just got curious about what made you make that team, Naruto replied, then another realization dawned upon him. So if I wasn't friends with Hinata and Haku, you wouldn't have put me in a team with them? Jiraiya shrugged. Maybe. Maybe not. What I wouldn't have done is putting yourself on a team with people you don't get along with, since that would have been a huge obstacle for teamwork. For example, given the kind of relationship you have with Sasuke Uchiha, I don't think that the two of you would have made a good team. Why not? Naruto could already imagine why, but he wanted to hear Jiraiya's reasons. Well, for starters, you guys are kind of competitive. And that's something to avoid at all costs. There has been far too many failed missions and dead ninja as a result of two teammates who couldn't put their rivalry aside, and more often than not, a negligent sensei unable to instill some order in their team. There's the fact that both of you have strong personalities that lean towards leading rather than following, which would add even more troubles for the team dynamic. I myself have plenty of experience in that regard. Back in the day, your mother, Orochimaru, and myself clashed a lot over who was the team leader. And let me guess, Mom always ended up as the leader, right? Naruto said with a huge grin. Some things never change, do they? Jiraiya chuckled. Anyway, some people are made to lead, others are made to follow, while others switch between leading and following depending on the circumstances. You are the first kind, while I'm the third. On the other hand, people like your teammates are clearly the second kind. Not to say that they lack initiative or are incapable of independent thought, but they usually perform better when it's somebody else issuing orders. That's why Sasuke's two teammates are people willing to follow more than lead as well. Naruto spent a few moments processing all what Jiraiya had explained. He had a pensive look plastered on his face. Wow, and you had to take into account all of that while making teams? Of course. If not, you have not one, but multiple disasters waiting to happen, Jiraiya replied. Being Hokage is way more complicated than it looks at first glance. Naruto commented. Of course it is. Why do you think that many days I come back home so late? It requires a lot of work and dedication. Imagine all the complications of having a girlfriend, of being a team's commanding officer, and imagine that the girlfriend or the team is the whole village, and you get a good picture of what being a Kage means, Jiraiya explained. He noticed that Naruto looked a bit overwhelmed as he tried to imagine it. There's a good reason for why I didn't want to take the job to begin with. Speaking of which, do you still want to become Hokage? Naruto's dubious mood instantly dispelled, and grinned widely at Jiraiya. Of course. I never back down to a challenge, and I'm not going to start now. Jiraiya smiled at him. Good to see that there's nothing that can dampen that indomitable spirit of yours. Anyway, I believe that we've been resting enough time, shall we continue the training? Right. Hyuga Estate. In the main house's dojo, Neji and Hinata were in the middle of a spar under Hikari's watchful eye, a usual sight for the past couple of weeks. These fights were far more intense than their usual spars, given what was at stake, at least for Hinata. Still, Hikari was there to assure that nobody would get unnecessarily hurt. As they traded blows, Neji noticed that while still below his level, Hinata was nowhere near as slow or weak as he remembered. He never liked sparring against her due to how unchallenging she was, but now, the improvement after she graduated the academy was notable. Not to say that Neji didn't improve since then either. He couldn't help but feel a little jealous of his admittedly less talented cousin having a shot at becoming Chunin, while he'll have to wait at least 6 months. But then again, Neji knew that fate was a cruel mistress. Neji couldn't help but agree with Guy, as much as it pained him, when the green-clad man told him that he could have defeated Sasuke if he hadn't engaged in such unyouthful taunting. But Neji couldn't help it. Despite being one of the Hyuga who lost the least that fateful night, especially compared to his cousin, who lost her father, the Hyuga prodigy could never forget the terror he experienced that night. And even if the rational part of his brain screamed at him that Sasuke was not to blame for the death of his clansmen, he still wanted an Uchiha to experience that same fear. It was a shame that his fear tactic had the opposite effect, and Sasuke nearly killed him. Rage is indeed a double-edged sword. A sword that, unbeknownst to him, the Uchiha clan had mastered its use for generations. He had no hope of beating one of them at their own game. "Okay, I believe that's enough for today," Hikari stated. Both Hinata and Neji immediately stopped and bowed to each other as a sign of mutual respect, before walking towards Hikari so she would assess them. "You two are showing noticeable improvement. Though Neji, I believe that you're pushing yourself a bit too hard," Hikari told him. "I need to, if I am to become stronger. I disgraced both the clan and my team with my shameful display in the preliminaries," Neji explained. "I need to better myself as soon as possible." Hikari just shook her head. "But you still need to recover from the injuries you sustained during said match, and if you push yourself that much you'll only end up injured. Promise me you'll take it easy for the time being. There's still plenty of time to train until the next exams." Neji nodded. "I'll do as you say, Hikari-sama." The Hyuga matriarch smiled. "Good," she then turned towards her eldest daughter. "Hinata, so far you've progressed at a steady pace. But I know that you can do better. Doing just fine won't be enough to impress the examiners. Your speed isn't as good as it could be." "I know, mother. I'll train as hard as possible," Hinata replied. "I believe that's all for the time being. We will resume training in the afternoon. Why don't you go for a walk around the village to clear your head and breathe some fresh air?" Hikari suggested. "We will," Neji laconically replied. "See you later, Hikari-sama." "Bye mother," Hinata added as she and Neji left. During the past week, Hikari decided to teach Hinata and Neji two of the clan's most powerful techniques, the 8 trigrams, 64 palms, and the heavenly spin. Neji managed to master them pretty quickly, while Hinata was still trying to do them correctly. Then again, Hinata was also trying to improve in other areas, such as medical ninjutsu or her lightning release, so if she decided to focus all her time and effort on those two techniques, maybe she would have mastered them already. The Hyuga prodigy couldn't help but feel a little bitter. Had he classified to the finals, he was positive he would be able to score a promotion, regardless of who he had to fight against. On the other hand, Hikari expressed doubt that Hinata, who did classify, would be impressive enough to be considered for a promotion, even with a complete S-rank mission under her metaphorical belt. Fate could be a cruel mistress, but he already knew that. "No," Neji told himself. "Fate has nothing to do with this. It was me who ruined my chances of making it to the finals." "Ni-san?" Hinata asked, snapping Neji from his thoughts. "Huh? Is something wrong? You look worried," Hinata observed. Neji's face remained as stoic as ever. "It's nothing, Hinata-sama. Say, what do you plan to do now? See if Naruto is available to have lunch with you?" Hinata blushed a bit. "Yes. We haven't seen each other much since the preliminaries ended. I kind of miss training with him and Haku-kun as a team. But since the three of us passed to the finals, we agreed to train on our own so we can go in blind against each other and nobody has an advantage." "Wise decision, given that that's the kind of conditions you will face in real missions," Neji commented. "But that doesn't mean I should completely isolate myself from them until the finals are over, don't you think so?" Hinata asked, giggling a little. "I guess you're right," Neji replied. "I guess I'll see you in the afternoon then. Bye." As Neji saw his cousin walking away, he began to ponder what he should do with his spare time. Maybe he should go to his team's usual training ground and see how Tenten was doing. He felt a bit bad for choosing to help train Hinata instead of her, even if Tenten reassured him that she was okay with that. Still, he should go see her, check her progress, and maybe, just maybe, give her some words of encouragement would be something she'd appreciate. The Hyuga prodigy went his way towards his chosen destination when something caught his attention. A flash of red hair he caught from the corner of his eyes. Turning around, he saw that teammate of Sasuke, Karin, if he remembered correctly. She healed him with that strange power of hers after being beaten into the ground by the enraged Uchiha. He felt that the fact that she had crossed paths with him wasn't a coincidence, not that Neji believed in coincidences, mind you, and remembering that the Hyuga didn't thank her properly for her help, decided that it was a good time to mend such mistake. "Hey," Neji called, raising his voice a little, as he walked towards her. Karin apparently took the hint that she was being called, and turned around to see the white-eyed prodigy. "Oh, it's you. Hello. Neji, right?" "Indeed," Neji nodded. "Excuse me, but are you currently busy with any endeavor? Maybe training?" Karin shook her head. "I've been training all morning with Shizune-sensei, and she gave me a couple hours to eat and rest." "Why? Do you need something from me?" "Not exactly. I wanted to thank you for healing me during the preliminaries. The medics told me that whatever you did accelerated my recovery by weeks," Neji stated. Karin smiled a little. "Well, you're welcome. I usually don't let everybody bite me, but given that it was my teammate who harmed you so much, I felt it was my responsibility to do something to fix it. Still, I think that mere verbal gratitude is just not enough," Neji continued. "Oh, no. Karin shook her head while raising her hands. "No need to do anything more. I'm fine, really." "I insist," Neji said. "Let me do something, small as it may be. Say, how about if we have lunch together? My treat." Karin's brain took a few seconds to precede the prodigy's words. She started to blush. "What? Oh, you mean that, well, it's just that." The redhead started to babble as she averted her gaze. Karin's mind became a mess in a matter of seconds. Even if she considered herself attractive, and has been trying to make Sasuke notice her for quite some time, this was the first time a boy asked her for a date. She considered taking Neji's offer, while still thinking about Sasuke. Even if she was sure Sasuke would fall for her charms sooner or later, she had been unsuccessful so far. Besides, Neji also fit her type of ideal boy, so why not? "Oh, okay," she stammered. "Where do you want to go?" "Shouldn't I be the one asking that? This for you, you know," Neji replied. "Oh, right." Karin replied, giggling a bit. "There's this place that serves a pretty killer okonomiyaki. You're going to love it." And thus, Neji and Karin headed towards their first date. Or at least, Karin thought it was a date. In any other circumstances, Hinata would be worried about finding Naruto. And while Hinata knew where Naruto usually trained on his own or with his parents, she couldn't go there. What if she caught him developing some new jutsu for the finals? That wouldn't be fair. Fortunately for Hinata, there was a place that she knew Naruto would drop by sooner or later, any day of the week, especially when it was lunchtime, like now. "Hey, Hinata." Naruto cheerfully called when he saw her. Hinata smiled. "When in doubt, go to Ichiraku's." "Hello, Naruto-kun," the Hyuga replied as she took a seat beside him. There was already several empty bowls of ramen besides him. "Hello to you as well, Tuchi-san, Ayame-san." "The usual, I guess?" Ayame asked Hinata. The Hyuga nodded. "One chicken ramen bowl, then." "It's so great that you dropped by here," Naruto commented, while eating from his bowl of ramen. "We haven't seen each other much lately." "Indeed," Hinata agreed. "I've been very busy with training for the finals, as well as my training as a medic nin, and I kinda missed being with both you and Haku-kun. It's a pity that he wasn't able to join us." But then again, Hinata wasn't that sad that Haku couldn't be with them. Of course, she would never say that out loud. "Yeah, that sucks. Guess that Zabuza is putting him through some hellish training regime," Naruto guessed. "Fortunately, everything will be back to normal when the finals are over and the three of us are hopefully tuning." "Technically, things won't be the same if even just one of us scores a promotion," Hinata replied. "Chunin had far more duties to attend than Jinan, but not that different, I think." "Yeah, it's not that we will be placed different teams or stuff like that," Naruto added. After a few moments, Ayame returned with Hinata's order. The Hyuga started to slowly eat her chicken ramen. "So, have you learned any new killer jutsu?" Naruto asked. However, before Hinata could have the chance to answer, he immediately realized of what he just said. "Sorry. I forgot about our agreement. It's that, well, I wanted to keep talking and was the first thing that crossed my mind." Actually, it was the second, but Naruto wasn't going to say it out loud. Hinata smiled reassuringly. "It's okay, there's nothing wrong with asking that. I'm sure that you have been working on a very powerful jutsu as well." Naruto's eyes grew wide, as his irises shrunk. "What? How do you know that?" "I didn't know, I just guessed. But it's something logical, right?" That you would try to learn at least one new jutsu for the finals. Well, pretty much everybody else as well. But you specially. Naruto calmed down, and laughed a bit awkwardly. Hee, I guess you're right. You know me really well, Hinata. Hinata blushed a bit. Well, when you know somebody for so long. That sentence remained unfinished. It was followed by a long, awkward silence. Technically, Hinata didn't know Naruto as well as she thought. But the blonde thought that maybe it was a good idea to let her know him a little more. Hinata? Are you? Naruto began, stuttering a bit, are you nervous about the finals? Hinata replied a bit absent-mindedly. Well, yes I am. Not only are the stakes high for us, but we're going to fight in front of thousands of people. It's kind of hard not to feel intimidated by such thing. You know, sometimes I wish I had your spunk. Ha, yeah, Naruto laughed a bit. Then he grew serious. Truth be told, I'm kind of scared as well. Hinata looked at him as if he just said an obscenity. What? You said it yourself. It's kind of hard not to feel nervous when you're before such a trial, Naruto replied a bit defensively. Sorry, I didn't mean to imply that you have no right to feel intimidated or overwhelmed, Hinata rectified. It's just that, well, you're so strong. I can't think why you aren't in a more optimistic mood, given that you have the best odds out of all of us to score a promotion, plus your parents. That's actually the problem. Naruto replied, raising his voice a bit. Your parents? Hinata asked, a bit puzzled. Is there something wrong with them? Did you have an argument? No, it's not none of that, Naruto replied. You know, I didn't notice it until Lee wanted to challenge me to a fight, but, well, I have quite of a reputation in the village. Of course you have, Hinata smiled at him. Because you're among the strongest Jonin of Konoha. And soon, you will be among the strongest Chunin. Naruto forced himself to smile back at her. I know, but I know that most of that reputation is thanks to my parents. Hinata grew indignant. What? That's not true. Yes it is. He fired back. My parents are ninja of renown. Walking legends. Do you think that if it wasn't for them, I would be where I am now? I can't answer that question, the Hyuga heiress replied as she started fidgeting with her index fingers. I mean, yeah, I'm sure that Jiraiya-sama and Tsunade-sama helped you a lot, but I think what they did was develop your potential. If you weren't good enough, you wouldn't be here. I guess that makes sense, Naruto replied, now a bit more calm. But that doesn't change the fact that, thanks to being the son of the Sannin, people expect a lot of me. I'm not worried about what people might think about me, but I can tarnish my parents' reputation if I do poorly. And if I manage to score a promotion, some people might accuse Dad of playing favorites with his son. Oh, was all Hinata could say for a few seconds as her brain processed Naruto's plight. I know that I'm your friend, and thus my opinion on you might not be unbiased. But I'm sure you won't disappoint anybody. And if you think so, well, I know how you feel. This time, it was Naruto who was taken aback. You do? Naruto lamely asked. Naruto-kun, I'm Hinata Hyuga, heiress of the Hyuga clan, one of the strongest clans of Konoha. There's a lot of eyes placed on me as well, Hinata reminded her blonde friend. Many people from my clan believe that I'm not a worthy successor to my late father, and they believe that I will only embarrass the clan in the finals. What? Naruto shouted indignantly. That's nonsense. Maybe. But there's nothing that I can do to fix it. Other than, of course, train as hard as I can in order to prove them wrong, Hinata calmly replied. She smiled at Naruto. At least, that's what you would do, right? Of course. Naruto proudly replied. And I'm going to show everybody what I am made of. I will master the Rasengan and leave everybody open-mouthed. Rasengan? Hinata asked. Naruto slapped his forehead. Damn it. I just revealed my trump card. Oh. Well, it's not that I can piece together on what that jutsu is based on the name alone, Hinata reassured Naruto. Do you want to see the jutsu I've been practicing, to be even? No, not at all. It was a mistake on my part, it would be unfair to you, Naruto replied. He smiled at her. Show it to me in the finals, okay? Hinata smiled at him. Okay. Speaking of which, there has been something I've also been working on, Naruto said as he began to look for something inside his ninja tool pouch. Naruto-kun, didn't we just? Don't worry, I'm not planning on using it during the exams. I won't be able to finish it in time, the blonde replied, finally finding what he was looking for. Ah, what is it then? The Hyuga asked, her curiosity sparked up a little. This, Naruto proudly said as he showed Hinata his incomplete work. Once complete, will be my weapon of choice. Hinata took the weapon, and looked at it closely. She wasn't impressed. A normal kunai? She asked, a bit flabbergasted. What? No. Well, yes, it's a kunai, but it's far from normal. Look at the blade closely, Naruto told her. Hinata did so, and the Hyuga noticed something she didn't see at first. Oh. There are some seals engraved on the blade. Yup. And that's not all. Now take a look with your Byakugan, Naruto added. Hinata activated her bloodline limit, which allowed her to see more secrets of Naruto's work in progress. The blade is also imbued with chakra. Your chakra, to be precise. Exactly. Naruto replied, as he took his kunai back. And, what does this kunai do? Hinata asked. The idea is to combine Mom's chakra scalpel with chakra flow in order to create a sword of chakra. By pushing my chakra into this kunai made of chakra conductive metal as opposed to normal steel. Naruto did so, and a short blade of pure chakra was projected from the kunai. Wow, Hinata said, now impressed. It's kinda like Asuma sensei's trench knives. Hee, well, I also took inspiration from those knives too. But when this one's complete, it will be much better in every way, Naruto said, swinging the weapon. And you did it by yourself? The Hyuga asked. Naruto nodded. I got the idea while studying Fuinjutsu. I might do more weapons when I'm done with this one. Once it's complete, I will be able to create a sword not of normal chakra, but of wind chakra. It will be a sword whose blade will never break or get dull, will cut through almost anything, and I'm the only one who will be able to use it. It's pretty amazing. It's a pity that you won't finish it by the time the finals begin, Hinata replied. Naruto deactivated the kunai, and put it back on his pouch. Yeah. Dad told me that I should forget about that for the time being and follow his training schedule. And as much as I hate to admit it, he's kinda right. Hinata smiled at Naruto. Hopefully, you will finish it by the time we're assigned a new mission. I can't wait to see it in action. Yeah, me too. Training Ground 9. For the first time in weeks, the medical squad got the chance to train together. Granted, like the assault squad, they weren't going to show their strongest moves just now. Well, at least Sasuke and Karin weren't. Sakura was more than happy to show them what she learned about genjutsu during the past weeks with Kurenai. At first, they took turns sparring against each other while the three adults overseeing them evaluated their abilities. Then, the three of them fought together against the adults, Shisui, while the other two, Itachi and Shizune, watched expectantly. The two of them remained silent as Shizune's squad battled the one-eyed Uchiha, who restricted himself to taijutsu and low-level ninjutsu but still refused not to use his signature ability, much the Jinan's frustration. Still, they put up a very good fight. You know, it's been a while since you and me did anything together, Itachi commented. Haha, yes, Shizune laughed awkwardly. I barely saw you since I started dating Shisui. And then my new job as Jonin-sensei and... You don't need to apologize, Itachi interrupted her. I was merely stating a fact. You're not the only one with new responsibilities. My job as the village's main information gatherer isn't easy either, and keeps me out of Konoha for long periods of time. We're merely victims of our circumstances. Do you think it was a good idea to take such jobs so soon after the Uchiha insurrection? I think you should have spent more time with Sasuke-kun, Shizune pointed out. Sasuke didn't want his father's killer around him. He needed space, and I gave him that, Itachi stated matter-of-factly. I was there for him whenever he needed it, but I don't know if our relationship can be as it was before our clan's demise. Your relationship isn't going to get any better if you remain absent for most of his life, Itachi, Shizune countered. You have a point, but it's too late for that. I can't just quit this job without proper justification. What I do is important for Konoha. Plus Sasuke isn't alone. He has Shisui, and now he has you. Neither Shisui nor I can replace you, Itachi, Shizune replied. I'm not asking neither of you to replace me. Just make him feel that there's somebody else besides me that loves him, Itachi explained. Shizune shook her head. Sasuke-kun already knows how Shisui and I feel towards him. But he's not so sure about you, Shizune told him in an almost chiding tone. Then again, taking a few weeks to help him train was a step in the right direction. You two need to spend some time together. I know we do, Itachi admitted, then decided that it was time to switch the topic. You did a good job training Sasuke. Thanks. Although he's a bit out of my specialty. Sakura and Karin are aspiring medics, But I don't have much to teach somebody who follows a more offensive-oriented path, Shizune said. A sensei's job is more than just teaching him combat or ninjutsu. They also have to provide guidance. Itachi watched the way Sasuke fought and coordinated with his two teammates in order to take down a superior opponent. Sasuke used to believe that personal power was the key to everything and that teammates would only slow one down, but now look at him, fighting together with those two girls as if they were one. Ah yes, that's my greatest accomplishment, Shizune replied, allowing a smug smile to form on her lips. You should have seen how that team was when we started. I thought it would take longer for those three to form a cohesive unit. I can't wait to see Sasuke in the Chunin exams. Hopefully the fiasco of the preliminaries won't happen again, Itachi mentioned. He better not. Shizune's blood still boiled whenever she remembers such a shameful display of violence. Still, she calmed down quickly. But I'm sure that such thing won't happen. I made sure he understands that what he did was unacceptable. And if he doesn't, remind him about how such thing would dishonor the clan even further, Itachi suggested. I feel if I do that too often, he'll become resented with the rest of Konoha, and Kami knows what he would do like that. Shizune shook her head. I have to have faith in that he will do the right thing. Sasuke will always do the right thing, Itachi added. What I'm worried about is if he'll be able to tell what is the right thing to do. Training Ground 10. Most of the Genin who failed to make it to the finals, regardless of the moment they dropped out of the exam, were naturally jealous of those who were about to fight to become Chunin. A promotion would ensure no more of those pesky D-rank missions, a bigger paycheck, and a better status among the village. Shikamaru Nara wasn't one of them. While Shikamaru did plan to become a Chunin, he wasn't in a hurry. While they could be tedious, he found the D-rank missions easy and sometimes even relaxing. He didn't care about status, and thought that his current paycheck was good enough. Plus being a Chunin meant more dangerous missions, more training and less spare time. That fight against Orochimaru and his lackey gave him a taste of what being a high-ranking ninja was like. No, Shikamaru was very happy with the state of his life right now. While those poor fools trained their asses off for a promotion that might not even come, he relaxed, watching clouds and laying on the soft grass. Or he would be watching the clouds if a girl-shaped shadow didn't block his view of the sky. Why, I'm not surprised to see you wasting your time like this, the girl said while rolling her eyes. Nice to see you too, Shikamaru didn't recall her name, nor felt like trying to jog his memory. Temari, the girl said, annoyed. Right, Temari, Shikamaru repeated. Is there a reason as for why you're disturbing my cloud-watching session instead of training? Your first opponent is one of the strongest Genin of Konoha. Not that Shikamaru cared about Temari's performance during the finals. Something Temari was aware of, but decided it wasn't something worth an argument. She decided that brutal honesty would be the best course of action. I came here because I want to fight you, Temari stated. Shikamaru found such things so outrageous, it made him to sit up. Come again? You heard me, Temari replied, crossing her arms. You know, I could understand such thing if I defeated you. Revenge and all that. But we already fought twice, and both times it was clear that you can kick my ass every day of the week, and twice on Sundays, Shikamaru replied. Temari's expression didn't change. No, those weren't fights. The first time we were interrupted when your teammate possessed my brother. And the second time you gave up before the fight could even begin. I already told you that I hate to leave a job half done. I want our fight to end properly. Which makes me wonder, why did you surrender so quickly? Are you such a big defeatist? No, I'm a practical person. I analyzed my odds to victory, and they weren't good. Hence, the best option was to cut my losses and stop wasting both of our times. What could I get from a fight that I was never going to win? Shikamaru asked. The satisfaction of knowing that despite you lost, you gave it your all? Temari replied. Shikamaru's lips formed a small smile. You have a gift for comedy. It was nice to meet you, Temari, Shikamaru said as he lied down again, and went back to his cloud spotting. Temari's eye twitched. How he dared to dismiss her like that. She grabbed him by the neck of his shirt and forcefully lifted him up to her eye level. If you think you can get rid of me that easily, think again. I'm not leaving until we fight. So you better fight me now, and you better put effort into it. You don't have your war fan, Shikamaru noted. Temari realized that it was true. She probably left it at the hotel room. I don't care. I still can fight you unarmed. Yeah, those manly arms of yours look like they could bend a steel bar, Shikamaru pointed out. Just because my arms are strong doesn't mean they're manly, you know. Temari angrily replied. Now fight. No. Then I'll beat the crap out of you until you fight back. Will you do that? Temari struggled with her thoughts for a few seconds, before realizing that no, she would never fight somebody unable or unwilling to defend himself. She released the lazy Nara. Ugh, you're impossible. Temari groaned. I don't know how the hell did you manage to get so far into the exams. Shikamaru just shrugged. You know, you look tense. Might I suggest something that can calm you down? Like what? Cloud spotting? Temari asked sarcastically. Don't knock it out until you tried it, Shikamaru replied as he lied once more against the grass. No, thank you, Temari said as she was about to leave. However, she didn't move from her spot. And after a few seconds of hesitation, she lied next to Shikamaru. I hate you. I'm sure you do, Shikamaru said, unable to repress a half smile. How do you play this? Temari grunted. You look at the clouds, until you see one that looks like an object or an animal. For example, Shikamaru pointed out to a circular cloud with a few bulges. That cloud looks like a turtle. Temari was about to say that was stupid, until she noticed that Shikamaru was right. Still, she let out a scoff. And you do this often? Whenever I'm not playing shogi, Shikamaru replied. Don't you like it? It's dumb, Temari said. But I must admit that looking the clouds drift is kind of relaxing. Shikamaru smiled. See? I told you. You should do this more often. I can't. Clouds are a rarity in the skies of the land of wind, Temari explained. Still, it's not that I have usually that much spare time to spend it watching the sky. Then the more reason to do it now, don't you think so? Shikamaru asked. Guess that I could, until I need to go back to training, Temari admitted, shifting in her spot. Still want to fight me? Shikamaru asked. Yes. But I'm starting to think that it wouldn't be a very spectacular or satisfying fight, Temari stated. So I think I'll pass for now. Think the worst, and you'll never be disappointed, Shikamaru replied. You're quite a strange fellow, did anyone tell you that? Temari asked. Shikamaru simply shrugged. The two of them spend the rest of their time together watching the clouds, and enjoying the calm and the silence of the place they were in. After his meal with Hinata and remembering how much he enjoyed being around her, new and alien feelings notwithstanding, Naruto headed back to his usual training grounds, where he hoped Jiraiya would be waiting for him in order to wrap up training for the finals. Suddenly, he felt another presence pulling him. It was a very similar sensation to the time he was near Killer Bee, but this time it wasn't Killer Bee. Could it be Gaara? Naruto wondered aloud. Once again, Naruto allowed himself to be pulled by that strange feeling, which took him to a busy street. It didn't take him long to notice a green-haired girl, looking around a bit disoriented, as if looking for something. She remembered that girl as a Taki Kunoichi who was very chummy with the animal squad. And she was another Jinchuriki, if Jiraiya was to be believed. The girl then turned around and looked at Naruto, and her expression changed, as if she suddenly found what she was looking for. Naruto thought that, just like how he sensed her presence, maybe she sensed him as well. Hey! The green-haired girl waved at Naruto as she ran at him. Hi there. Naruto saluted back, hoping that such a bubbly girl wouldn't turn out to be another jerk like Killer Bee. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Your name was Fu, right? That's correct. The girl happily replied. You know, I kinda wanted to talk with you for some time, but I didn't have the chance during the exam, and then I was unable to find you. Until now, I mean, hee hee. I'm glad to see you as well. It's always nice to meet another Jinchuriki, Naruto earnestly told her. Fu's expression suddenly became one of shock. Wait a minute, you're a Jinchuriki too? Naruto's sweat dropped. Why yes. Didn't you? Fu then started laughing. Ha ha ha, I was just kidding. Of course I knew you're a Jinchuriki. I sense your beast inside you, just like you probably sensed mine, Fu replied, then she touched her exposed belly. Or maybe it's my stomach? I didn't eat anything since this morning. I usually eat what my teammates and I cook, but I want to eat somewhere in the village before I have to leave. Do you know any nice restaurant? Naruto's mouth formed a huge grin. Of course I do. If you want to taste Konoha's finest cuisine, the best place is Ichiraku's ramen. It's situated near the gate of the village. Sounds neat. Wanna come with me? Food tastes better when eaten in good company, Fu suggested. Naruto then grew a bit uneasy. Well, I'd love to, but I just came from there just now. Besides, there's this girl that I like and, well, if she or somebody else sees us eating together, they might get the wrong idea, Fu concluded. It's okay, I get that. There's somebody else who got my interest as well. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Sure, it's Shino, right? Naruto asked. Fu titled her head, puzzled. Who? Naruto's sweat dropped again. You know, the one with the coat and sunglasses? Kind of mysterious? His body is full of bugs? Fu then burst into laughter again. Ha 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 ha, I was kidding again. Of course I know who Shino is. What kind of person I'd be if I forgot the name of my first friend. This time, it was Naruto was puzzled. Wait a minute, you didn't have any friends until you met Shino? He asked in shock. Well, there aren't much people my age back in Taki, Fu recounted. Plus everybody keeps watching over me and trying to keep me safe all the time, like I'm some sort of fragile China doll. Shino and his friends were the first people who didn't treat me like that. I know that feeling. My parents can be quite overprotective sometimes. My mom was on the verge of tears when I told her about my first mission out of the village. Guess that being a Jinchuriki doesn't make it any better, Naruto replied. The green-haired girl gasped, and her eyes grew wide. Wait a minute, you're a Jinchuriki too? Fu asked in shock. This time, Naruto's expression turned deadpan, and crossed his arms. Not buying it this time. Fu chuckled, and shrugged. Had to try. Naruto then decided it was a good time to board a certain topic. Speaking of which, do you have any control over the power of your tailed beast? Fu shook her head. Nope. Lucky 7 does what Lucky 7 pleases. She sometimes helps me, but like I say, that's when she feels like it. Lucky 7? Naruto asked, a bit confused. That's her name. Or at least, what she told me to call her. She said she brings luck, but guess that she isn't so lucky herself, hee hee, Fu chuckled, patting her bare midriff. So I guess your beast is the 7 tails? Fu nodded. Yup. What about yours? Add 2 more tails, Naruto replied. Fu winced. Yuck, the fox. That's one big meanie. Understatement of the century, Naruto deadpanned. By the way, did you know that there are other 2 Jinchuriki here right now? Yeah. That weird guy from Kumo, and the creepy redhead from Suna, right? Fu replied. Hey, Gaara isn't creepy. Naruto protested. He might be a bit reserved and not very talkative, but he's rather nice if you get to know him. But yeah, the guy from Kumo is pretty weird. Oh. Well, guess that I'll have to take your word for it, Fu conceded. Then, her stomach let out an audible growl. Okay, now I'm sure it's hunger what I'm feeling. And since you're not available, let's see if I can find somebody to eat with. Ichiraku's, right? Yeah. Trust me, you won't regret it. And with that, a pair of green wings grew from Fu's hips, and the Taki kunoichi flew away. Boy, what a weird girl, Naruto said as he watched her disappearing into the sky. Undisclosed location, somewhere in the forests of the Land of Fire. 2 groups of ninja were standing in front of each other. One group was composed of ninja wearing black robes and animal masks, not unlike the ones used by Konoha's Onbu division. The other ninja were wearing black and gray camouflage clothes, and their faces were also concealed, albeit by black balaclavas. The 2 leaders of each group took a step forward, while their escorts were ready to attack in case the other did something funny. So, Danzo, the leader of the Auto Ninja began, almost with a chuckle. I presume that you have something important to tell me if you requested a meeting in person. As usual, the leader of the supposedly disbanded organization remained impassible. Not even somebody like Orochimaru was enough to faze him. As the Chunin exams approached their conclusion, security around the village is tighter than ever. I can't just risk sending a messenger anymore, Danzo explained. In fact, that's the reason as for why I wanted to contact you. It doesn't look as if you're going to bring me good news, don't you think so? Orochimaru asked, and grinned. Danzo ignored that remark. I heard that both the Raikage and the Kazokage are going to be present for the finals, Danzo announced, and as expected, Orochimaru's grin disappeared. With both Kage and their respective entourages there, the attack cannot happen. You can't ask me to call off the invasion, Orochimaru's tone grew colder. I have been planning it for more than a year. You can't ask me to throw all that away. I am not asking you to do that, Danzo replied, as calm as ever. All I ask you is for you to delay the attack a couple weeks. Can you do that? You were the one who told me that attacking during the Chunin exams would be the most viable option, Orochimaru protested. Yes, it was Danzo's idea. The Chunin exam finals were a big event. Not only would the stadium would be overflowing with people wanting to see the matches, but many of Konoha's usual and potential customers, including the Fire Lord himself, would come to watch the Jinan fight for their promotions. And as such, a lot of the security would be focused on the stadium, leaving the rest of Konoha more vulnerable than usual, making the job of penetrating the walls all the easier. But even Orochimaru knew that Danzo had a point. Attacking Konoha with the Raikage and the Kazekage there would not only make it much less likely to succeed, it also would be seen as an act of war against their respective villages too, not just Konoha. Orochimaru knew that Konoha hadn't launched an invasion of the Land of Sound yet is because they hadn't proved to the other nations that Otogaku is a threat. That would seal the deal. And I'm pretty sure that you didn't acquire any new allies, did you? Otherwise, I would have known it, Danzo guessed. Once again, the leader of Root was right. Suna was out of question since their relationship with Konoha had improved a lot over the past years. Kiri was still embroiled in their civil war. Ame was out of question since that would draw attention towards the Akatsuki leader, not that Orochimaru cared. Kama and Kuza and Taki were formal allies of Konoha. That left Iwa and Kumo, but despite their animosity for Konoha, neither of them were interested in starting another war. And his fellow Akatsuki members were occupied doing high-profile missions and tracking the Jinchuriki, so with the exception of Obito, they weren't an option. I might have failed at securing other villages' help, but I do have a new weapon that will tip the balance in my favor, Orochimaru replied. I see. Even then, I insist you postpone the invasion plans. You said you've been planning this for a year. I'm sure you can wait a couple more weeks, Danzo told him. It's not that simple. I will have to redesign the offensive strategy from scratch since the security detail won't be the same, Orochimaru protested. What about that ultimate weapon of yours? The one-eyed man suggested. Can't you use it to bypass Konoha's defenses? Orochimaru looked pensive. He had planned to use his ace in the hole to assassinate a certain somebody, but as the circumstances had changed, so his plans had to change as well. It's not that he couldn't use them multiple times. Alright, I'll use it, even doing so will make me lose the surprise factor, the snake Sannin conceded. Good. I'll send you a messenger when the time to strikes comes, Danzo told him, as he and his bodyguard started to turn around. Now if there's nothing else that needs to be discussed. Actually, there is, Orochimaru replied, forcing Danzo to turn back at him again. It's not about the invasion, but more, personal curiosity. Danzo was annoyed, but he didn't make it evident. I'm sure I'll be glad to answer any question you have. Why are you doing this? Orochimaru asked. Helping me, I mean. You say you serve Konoha, but here you are, helping somebody planning to destroy it. What do you gain by doing this? Even if it was small, Orochimaru knew that there was a chance that this would make Danzo to reconsider their partnership. But the snake Sannin needed to know. Thirst of knowledge is the force that always drove Orochimaru, and there is little that made him matter more than questions without answers. And that question left him unable to sleep for multiple nights. Danzo allowed himself to emote, and a small smirk appeared on his face. Yes, my actions don't look like they make much sense, do they? But deep inside your twisted mind, they do, right? Orochimaru asked. Danzo nodded. As ninja, many times we gain wounds from battles. Sometimes, those wounds become infected. And in order to stop that infection to spread to the rest of the body, we sometimes need to sacrifice a limb. Konoha is currently infected, not by a disease, but by an ideology. An ideology perpetuated by my friend and rival Hiruzen, your former sensei, as well as Jiraiya, the current Hokage and your former teammate. Trust me when I say that I have something unforgettable prepared for them, Orochimaru gave a hint of a sadistic smile. But you're not letting me attack Konoha just to get rid of people who inconvenience you, are you? That's just the tip of the iceberg, Danzo replied. Those two did nothing but weaken Konoha with their ideologies of forgiving our enemies and helping them in their time of need instead of destroying them when they're vulnerable. To let ourselves be carried away by our emotions, instead of doing what we know is best. I mean, Sarutobi had the chance to put an end to you, yet, thanks to his weakness, here you are. We knew that the Uchiha were a threat, but Sarutobi refused to act on them until it was too late. We need to make Konoha's inhabitants realize of its weakness, and that a different approach is needed if we want to survive. Some might say that you are as much of a threat as the Uchiha were, given that you're conspiring with me. Orochimaru was somebody who delighted in irony. Yes, some might see it that way, Danzo admitted. But those people forgot about the teachings of Tobirama-sama. A ninja must be willing to make sacrifices for the sake of the village. Yes, Konoha will burn. But from its ashes, a new Konoha shall rise, one that will not make the mistakes of the past. One that will be strong, fearless and merciless, Danzo smiled again. One in which people like you will have a place in it. Orochimaru couldn't help but chuckle at the root leader's offer. Tempting, but I'm very happy as a freelance agent, thank you very much. Even then, I hope that my negative doesn't end our partnership. It will continue as long as it remains useful, Danzo stated. Are you implying that you'll try to have me killed the moment I stop being useful? Orochimaru asked, grinning. Wouldn't you do the same to me? Danzo asked. A ninja is nothing but tool towards a greater goal. The moment the tool is no longer useful, it must be discarded. Orochimaru chuckled again. Kukaku, I like how you think, old man. By the way, how are the body modifications I made you? Did they stand the test of time? Danzo took a few seconds to answer. I didn't have the chance to test them in battle, but so far they fulfill their purpose. Like I said before, Konoha would benefit from your genius. I prefer if my genius benefits just me instead, Orochimaru replied. Alright then, Danzo decided to put an end to that topic. Did I satisfy your curiosity? Indeed you did, Orochimaru replied. If that's the case, we better get going. The longer we stay here, the higher the chances of our operation being jeopardized, Danzo declared, and turned around. His minions followed him. Orochimaru decided that it was time to return to his hideout as well. He had a lot of planning to do, and he needed to gather more forces if he wanted the invasion to succeed. When he was halfway there, he stopped and told his minions to continue without him. After a few seconds of waiting, a masked man appeared beside him, coming out from a spiraling vortex. How did it go? Obito asked. I'm pretty sure you know already, don't you? Orochimaru asked back. Indeed, but I wanted to know if both versions coincide. The Uchiha noticed something odd about Orochimaru. You're not wearing the uniform. No. I believed it was best if I wasn't dressed like that for the occasion, Orochimaru replied. I'm sure Danzo knows you're already part of the organization, Obito retorted. Maybe, but there's no reason to confirm his suspicions, don't you think so? Orochimaru gave Obito a hint of an unnerving smile. Anyway, what do you want? To tell you my plan to capture the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, Obito told him. Your invasion of Konoha might be the best opportunity to do it. Orochimaru couldn't help but chuckle. Ah yes. Third time's the charm, isn't it? What made you think that this time will be different? Obito ignored that jab. I realized that my mistake was to try to take the Jinchuriki out of the village by force. And what do you suggest we do? The snake Sannin asked. This time, it was Obito who smirked. Easy, we will make him come to us instead. Omake, Chapter 25, What Could Have Been? Dejectedly, Naruto left Killer Bee alone, a bit sad that the man wouldn't teach him how to tame the Kyuubi. Guess that he prefers to write lame songs about mature women with large braids. Naruto thought aloud. He had seen some of the man's lyrics, and wasn't impressed. Then, an idea dawned upon him, mature women with big breasts? Of course that's it. A few minutes later, Naruto returned to the bar, with Killer Bee still on it. Yo, Killer Bee, I'm back. Naruto announced. The Kumo Jinchuriki groaned, and raised his head in annoyance. Didn't I tell you that I was woe? Hello there, handsome. Turns out, Naruto didn't return alone, since Tsunade was with him. The slug Sannin was wearing an incredibly skimpy black dress that showed a lot of skin, showed off her killer figure, and offered a generous view of her equally generous cleavage. Upon seeing such sight, Killer Bee was unable to utter a coherent word. What are you doing? Tsunade asked in a sultry voice as she looked at his rhyme booklet. You're a singer? Oh, I love singers, there's nothing sexier than a man who can sing. I see can sing. Killer Bee babbled, unable to take his eyes from Tsunade's cleavage. And you look so strong, Tsunade cooed as she sat on the table, and crossed her legs. Strong men make me melt. Why yeah, I'm strong too. The Jinchuriki replied. But do you know what I find even sexier than strong men who can sing? Tsunade asked, as she massaged her breasts in an incredibly unsubtle way. Killer Bee, who was seconds from fainting, merely shook his head. The Sannin then came closer, and whispered on his ear, men who know how to train a Jinchuriki how to control their Tylee's beast. I can do that too, Bee exclaimed. Really? Because if you could train my son here, Tsunade pulled Naruto to her, and both of them put their best smile. It would make me really, really, really happy. Suddenly, Naruto found himself being dragged by the arm by an excited Killer Bee. Come on kid, no time to waste, I wanna feel those boobies, so make haste. Hey, that's my mom you're talking about. Naruto protested. As Tsunade watched the two Jinchuriki running away, she dispelled the transformation, going back to her usual clothes, and leaned against the counter. Girl, you still have it. Not even menopause can keep you down, she congratulated herself. Then she looked at the waiter, and slammed her hand on the counter. Barman. Why there isn't a cup of sake in my hand? Right away, Tsunade-sama. The scared waiter replied. Chapter 27. Fight to become a Chunin, Part 1. Or. Fire, ice, wind, lightning and, food? Konoha Stadium. 4 Taki ninja walked inside the stadium. One of them was Shibuki, Takigakura's leader. The other 2 were his 2 chosen bodyguards. Kagen and Yoro usually filled that spot, but he wasn't dumb enough to have them around in Konoha after the stunt he pulled. And the 4th one was Fu, the only Taki ninja who made it to the finals. Well, this is where we separate, Shibuki said, breaking the silence. I'll be eager to see you in action. I'm eager to see myself in action too, Fu chuckled. Jokes apart, seeing you here makes me very happy, and proud, Shibuki stated. Not just for you, but for our whole village. Even among the minor villages, Taki isn't very powerful or influential. We don't have numbers, clan history or ninja with bloodline limits. But now you will not only bring pride and glory to yourself, but to our home as well. I'll do my best, Shibuki. You know I will never do something to upset you, Fu solemnly replied. This time it was Shibuki who chuckled. If only that were true. Hey! I mean serious stuff. Fu protested, as she childishly stomped her foot on the ground. Anyway, jokes aside, I'm sure that you'll do fine. And remember not to use. Yes, I know, only if it's an emergency. Now go already. Don't you need to meet with the other village honchos? Fu reminded him. I guess you're right. Good luck, Fu, Shibuki said as he and his 2 bodyguards went their way. Hokage-sama, the preparations are almost ready, Itachi told Jiraiya. The finals can begin whenever you give the order. Jiraiya had been overseeing the preparations for the Chunin exam finals, and wanted to make sure that everything went smoothly. He noticed that even if it was still a bit early, some people were already starting to fill the seats of the stadium. Good, Jiraiya laconically replied. What about our honored guests? Have they arrived? Itachi nodded. All 3 of them. If that's the case, tell somebody to guide them to the cage box. Then return to me at once, Jiraiya ordered. As you wish, Hokage-sama, Itachi said before vanishing. As one of the strongest, and possibly most loyal ninja of the village, Jiraiya had chosen Itachi to be one of his bodyguards during the event. The other one, Zabuza, was nowhere near as loyal, but Jiraiya had a good way to keep him in line. As the white-haired Hokage headed towards the cage box, he felt something. 3 of his tracking seals had entered the stadium, those who belonged to his 3 children. He smiled. He would have hated that Naruto would have been eliminated from the exams for being late. Fortunately, it would be extremely unlikely that Tsunade would let such a thing happen. Come on kid, show everybody what you're made of, Jiraiya thought. Shortly after Jiraiya arrived at the cage box and took one of the 4 seats, the first of his guests arrived. A man he wasn't exactly happy to see again. Still, he decided it was best to stand up and greet him as a cage deserved. Kazekage Dono. It's an honor to have you here, Jiraiya said, as politely as possible. Raza took a few seconds to inspect Jiraiya, dressed in the cage garb, something unusual for him. So it is true that they made you the new Hokage, Raza stated. Jiraiya was expecting some kind of demeaning comment that never came. Anyway, take a seat, Jiraiya motioned to the 4 throne-like chairs. And enjoy the fights. 2 of your kids are taking part in the finals. Yes. Let's hope they don't leave Suna in a bad place, the Kazekage said as he took a seat, the one in the left extreme. His bodyguard stood beside him at each side. Jiraiya recognized one of them, a woman with purple cheek markings, but she couldn't remember her name. But given the way I've been training them, I find that unlikely. Well, your daughter at least will have a hard time, given that she's going up against my son, Jiraiya thought, deciding it was for the best to keep that comment for himself. Jiraiya didn't have time to sit down, since the next of his guests appeared. A man Jiraiya liked even less than Raza, if that was even possible. Jiraiya was about to greet him, but his second guest spoke first. So, we meet again, Jiraiya, the Raikage stated, though some could say it was a snarl. This time, under better circumstances, or so I hope, Jiraiya hated to be polite with such a rage-filled asshole, but he couldn't leave Konoha in a bad place, not in front of the leader of such a powerful village. HN, was the Raikage's response. I hope you find our humble village hospitable, Jiraiya added. I'm planning to leave as soon as the finals end, so I don't think I'll be in position to answer your question, the Raikage bluntly stated. A pity, but understandable, Jiraiya conceded, then he motioned at the seats. Please take a seat. The Raikage walked to the seats, and seeing the Kazekage in the leftmost one, he chose the rightmost. His bodyguards, a black man with blonde hair that carried a broad sword, and a white blonde man with feminine features, both of them which Jiraiya remember from the time he met them so many years ago, positioned themselves between him, a step behind. Jiraiya wondered if Raza and A had some sort of enmity he wasn't aware of. While he knew there was no shortage of bad blood between Suna and Kumo, he was unaware if there was any recent event that sparked hostility between the two villages. Or maybe assholes tend to repel each other, like two magnets of the same pole. The last of the special guests arrived at the cage box. Jiraiya-sama. It's a pleasure to be here, Shibuki, leader of Takigakure, said as he entered the place. What is that man doing here? The Kazekage asked. I thought that this box was only for the cage, and he isn't one. Shibuki-san is the leader of an allied village, and thus he will be treated with the respect such a position deserves, even if he's not a cage. Jiraiya wondered if treating Shibuki as an equal would mean an offense to Raza and A, and maybe even the cage as a whole, but frankly, he wasn't feeling like pleasing his very unpleasant guests, political consequences be damned. Now Shibuki-san, please take a seat. Despite Raza's hostility, Shibuki chose to seat beside him. Guess that A was just that scary. Zabuza, are the participants ready? Jiraiya asked one of his bodyguards. The former Kiri swordsman nodded. All 12 are accounted for. Excellent, then we can finally begin, Jiraiya said, as he walked towards the edge of the box. He could see that the stadium was boiling with people, many clamoring for the matches to begin already. They wouldn't have to wait much. Ladies and gentlemen, both from Konoha, and visitors from other villages, the Chunin exam finals are about to begin. The crowd roared when Jiraiya made his announcement. Make sure to make your bets before the matches begin, or else they won't be valid. As for the Jinan, good luck to all, and hope you put an impressive show for your audience. Back in the stands, Tsunade, accompanied by Shizune, Sakura, Shisui and the twins, was holding all her betting tickets like they were her babies. That brat will win if he knows what's good for him, Tsunade stated. I bet all my savings on him. Great, now you jinxed him, Shizune rolled her eyes. But then again, she found Tsunade's faith in Naruto heartwarming. Come on Shizune, you should know already that Naruto is always a safe bet, Tsunade reassured her apprentice. Even then, is betting all your savings such a good idea? The younger woman asked. One of the perks of not being wanderers anymore is that Shizune now had control over her own money, and Tsunade wouldn't be able to waste it on bets, like it happened so many times in the past. Shizune, if I didn't bet all my money on Naruto, I'd imply that I don't have enough faith on him, and that would make me a bad mother. So by doing so, I'm showing both Naruto and everybody how much I trust his skill. You could say it's my duty as a mother to bet all my money on him. Shizune just stared at her for a few seconds. Wow. Your brain must be sore after all those mental gymnastics you went through to justify your bullshit, Tsunade-sama. Tsunade glared at her apprentice, and mumbled something under her breath. Kaida then gasped in horror. Mom, you can't say that word. The 12 Jinan walked forward into the arena where the proctor, Hyuga Uzuki, was already waiting for them. I'd introduce myself, but you know me already from the prelims, Hyuga said. People are getting impatient, so let's not drag this any longer. Sasuke Uchiha and Haku Yuki, get into position. Everybody else, go back to the competitor box and wait there. Sasuke and Haku got into position, while the other 10 Jinan walked away. Good luck, Haku. Show him who's boss, Naruto stated. We will be rooting you, Hinata added. Haku smiled at them. Thanks. I'll do my best. And you will find that your best won't be enough to beat me, Sasuke added as he smirked at him. Go Sasuke-kun. I know you can win. Sakura cheered as she waved at Sasuke, hoping for him to notice her. Well, there he goes. Let's hope he can keep his temper in check this time, Shizune commented, letting out a sigh. Even if he wins, the examiners might not appreciate unnecessary brutality. He will. He knows what's at stake, Shisui replied. Plus this is also a good way to score some good PR for the clan. Shizune hoped her boyfriend was right. Haku and Sasuke were in front of each other. Haku noticed that Sasuke was now carrying a sword, probably a katana, buckled to his belt. He wondered how Sasuke was able to learn a new fighting art just in the month of training, instead of focusing exclusively on his already existing strengths, such as taijutsu, ninjutsu, and shuriken. This match would determine if adding sword fighting to the mix is a display of talent or arrogance. Hyuga eyed both Jinan and decided it was time to begin. She hated not being able to wish good luck to her surrogate son, but she had to be neutral. The first match of the Chunin exam finals between Haku Yuki and Sasuke Uchiha from Konoha, "Begin," she shouted while making a chopping motion. Haku wasted no time, and a handful of senbon appeared on his hand. He jumped backwards while tossing the iron needles at Sasuke, while he used his other hand to find something inside his robe. Unfortunately for Haku, Sasuke remembered the fight against Rock Lee, and knew what the ice ninja was about to do. His eyes flared red, and pulling out a kunai, he charged at Haku while deflecting the incoming senbon. Pumping chakra into his legs, the youngest Uchiha reached close-quarter combat range just when Haku was pulling a storage scroll from his haori. Sasuke smirked evilly. "I'll be taking this, thank you." Haku was unable to stop Sasuke from snatching the scroll from his hand. Then, the Uchiha made a hand seal, and moved several meters behind him. At a distance he deemed safe, Sasuke pumped his chakra into the scroll, which began to burn. "Sorry, but I'm not letting you too." Sasuke was interrupted by the sound of water flowing. Turning around, he saw that his rival had not one, but two storage scrolls unfurled in the ground, both of them pumping water as if they were fountains. In no time, a large puddle formed at the ice ninja's feet. Wait, so the first scroll was just a bait? Sasuke wondered in disbelief. This time, it was Haku who smirked. "It would have been horribly foolish on my part to bring just one scroll, don't you think so?" Haku then looked at the growing puddle, and smiled in satisfaction. "Yes. I believe all this water will be more than enough to fuel my jutsu." Sasuke snarled, and angrily tossed the burning scroll away. "This changes nothing. You can't defeat me, and you know it." "Now that's an interesting theory which I'd love to debunk," Haku said as he made several hand seals. "Ice release, 1,000 ice needles of death." Some of the water at his feet turned into icy senbon that flew at Sasuke. The Uchiha replied with a jutsu of his own. "Fire release, great fireball jutsu." Sasuke exhaled a huge fireball that consumed and melted the ice senbon, but it dissipated before it could reach Haku. The crows roared at such impressive display of power from both ninjas. "Ice release? I thought that bloodline was extinct," I shouted. "And since when does Konoha has a kunoichi with such power?" Raza asked. "Well, you know what they say, a man's trash is another man's treasure. If the land of water didn't want people with bloodlines, Konoha is more than happy to give them shelter," Jiraiya replied, smiling wide. Then he turned at Raza. "Oh, and Haku is a boy." The Raikage snarled. As somebody who wished to increase his village's strength by incorporating more people with bloodline limits, A had tried to rescue some of those people in order to recruit them into Kumo's ranks, but his ninja either failed to locate such people, or they weren't fast enough to save them before they met a grisly death. Guess that Jiraiya was luckier than him. "Wait a minute, then that guy." Raza pointed at Zabuza. "I knew your face was familiar. You're Zabuza, the demon of Kirigakure." Zabuza smirked under his mask. "I'm glad to see that a cage recognizes me without the aid of a bingo book. Do you want my autograph?" "Hokage, what's the meaning of this?" Raza shouted. "Let's say that Zabuza has a debt with Konoha, and is currently in the process of paying," Jiraiya explained. "Don't worry, he's not a danger to anyone present here." "Do you know that Zabuza is wanted for crimes against Suna?" Raza angrily asked. "He's responsible for the murder of 7 of our ninja." Jiraiya turned at Zabuza. "Is that true?" Zabuza merely shrugged. "I'm as surprised as you. I mean, it's possible. I don't keep track of all the people I kill. My memory isn't that good." Jiraiya turned back at Raza, and smiled. "I'm sure we can reach an agreement in due time. Now, let's enjoy the fight. These two are among Konoha's strongest Jinan." Ice release, piercing icicle shot. Haku's jutsu formed a spear made of ice with the water at his feet, which flew at Sasuke like a missile. Sasuke had already prepared the counter. Fire release, great fireball jutsu. Once again, Sasuke's fire attack neutralized Haku's ice jutsu, but when the fireball was dispelled, Sasuke saw other 3 hikas. All four of them pulled out senbon and threw them at Sasuke. The youngest Uchiha jumped backwards, unsheathed his katana, and used it to deflect the incoming flying needles. Haku and his clones readied another barrage of senbon. Like hell if I'm going to let you, Sasuke shouted, and katana in hand, dashed at the many ice ninjas. Though rather than attacking from a distance, the clones charged at Sasuke as well. Upon meeting in melee range, Sasuke's katana, which started to glow with a faint blue light, cut through the first one, which burst into water. Sasuke was smart enough not to let the clone soak him, since he remembered the ice ninja's fight against Rock Lee. He methodically repeated the process, making sure not a single droplet of water touched him. Once the clones were dealt with, Sasuke pumped even more chakra into his sword and dashed at Haku. However, before his sword could sink into Haku's flesh, it was parried by another sword. What? Sasuke asked dumbfounded, noticing that Haku was holding a sword. It took him a couple seconds to realize that Haku's weapon was made of pure ice. With admirable dexterity, Haku almost knocked Sasuke's katana out his hand and delivered several rapid swipes that forced Sasuke on the defensive. "Since when do you know how to fight with a sword like that?" the incredulous Uchiha asked. He always had pegged the Yuki as a ninjutsu-focused, ranged specialist. "My three parental figures are accomplished sword fighters. Is it so unbelievable that they passed some of their skills on to me?" Haku asked while sporting a small smirk. Even if she managed to hit it from almost everybody, Hyuga couldn't help but smile with pride. Despite such display, Haku broke the fight by discarding his ice sword, which quickly melted back into water the moment it hit the ground, and put some distance by jumping backwards a few times. "Even then, I'm not arrogant enough to think I can last long in melee combat against you," Haku told him. "Now let's neutralize that fancy eye of yours." Haku made a hand seal. Water release, hiding mist jutsu. In a matter of seconds, a thick fog covered the area. People in the stands started to murmur, with some complaining that they weren't able to see anything. "Smart, very smart," Sasuke admitted. "But your strategy has a glaring mistake." "And that would be?" Haku tentatively asked. By following his voice, Sasuke had already pinpointed his location, but it wouldn't hurt to talk a bit more. "The fact that the point of these matches is to show off and impress the examiners. Even if you beat me, it won't help you score a promotion if nobody can see how you do it." "Maybe you're right. But I can always show off in the next match. After all, I'm sure that whoever my next adversary is, it can't be worse than you, Sasuke-san." Sasuke was taken aback. Now Haku's voice came from a completely different direction. How could he be so fast? Meanwhile, Haku smiled. The hidden mist jutsu wasn't of much use without a refined silent killing. However, thanks that this other new jutsu he developed with the aid of Zabuza, Sasuke wouldn't stand a chance. A whistle alerted Sasuke of several senbon flying at him. He unsheathed his katana and deflected the iron needles. Another barrage of senbon came from a completely different direction, although Sasuke was able to parry them as well. This makes no sense. There's no way Haku could have moved so fast in so little time, unless he knows the body flicker. And even then, if he used the body flicker, there would be a disturbance in the mist. Sasuke's thoughts were interrupted by another barrage of senbon, again from a completely different direction. Then, he had an idea, and made several hand seals. Fire release, great fireball jutsu. Sasuke exhaled a huge fireball. Even if he didn't know where his opponent was, the attack did what Sasuke intended, and the heat dispelled some of the mist. But much to Sasuke's frustration, the mist reappeared in a matter of seconds. Zabuza-sama fought against somebody who used fire to dispel his mist, and improved the jutsu accordingly. "It was a good idea, though," Haku conceded. "You're putting a valiant effort in resisting me, but sooner or later, you'll run out of energy," Haku taunted. "There's no need to drag this any longer. Ice release, 1,000 ice needles of death." Multiple whistles were heard as dozens of ice senbon flew at Sasuke from multiple directions. He deflected many of them, thanks to the Sharingan and his dexterity, but many of them embedded into his flesh, in the back, legs and arms. "Impressive. You're still standing. Your endurance is even greater than I had expected. Still, it won't change anything in the long run. Ice release, 1,000 ice needles of death." The pain and death heralding whistles were heard again, as the ice needles flew at Sasuke. However, as the youngest Uchiha struggled, an idea popped in his mind. Pumping all the chakra he could into his feet, he jumped as high as he could, successfully avoiding the needles. But that wasn't everything. While on mid-air, Sasuke made several hand seals. Fire release, Phoenix Sage Fire Jutsu. A volley of fireballs rained from above in a wide range, causing many explosions when they hit the ground. Said explosions dispelled the mist, but when it tried to reform, another explosion prevented it from happening. When Sasuke landed, the mist was no more. Very well, Sasuke. You got rid of the mist. But you're not any closer to defeat me than before, Haku replied. We'll see about that, Sasuke confidently replied. As the smoke cleared, Haku finally came into view, but much to the Uchiha's confusion, the ice ninja was inside what appeared to be a floating mirror made of ice. Sasuke was taken aback by such thing. What the? The confused Uchiha babbled. Do you like this, Sasuke? This is my clan's ultimate jutsu, the demonic mirror ice crystal. I'm glad that somebody of your caliber will be the first one to test the power of this jutsu, Haku mentioned. Your clan? Your clan is from the land of water. Where did you learn such a thing? Sasuke asked in disbelief. Zabuza-sama was kind enough to travel to our former homeland and gather information about my clan in order to train me better. He found this secret hideout of my people, where he discovered a scroll with multiple ice jutsu written on it, Haku explained, as he made a hand seal. Prepare yourself. You'll find this a step up from the mist. Sasuke raised his sword upon seeing Haku making a hand seal. Suddenly, multiple ice mirrors appeared at several points in the arena, all facing Sasuke. He stayed alert, wondering what the mirrors would do. Then all of a sudden, Haku's image appeared on every mirror, and before the youngest Uchiha could react, he found himself at the end of a brutal beatdown. All what the spectators could see was Sasuke being hit by a blur that appeared and disappeared at random times, but thanks to his Sharingan, Sasuke saw that it was Haku who moved from one mirror to another at a surreal speed. Sasuke tried to grab or attack Haku, but even with the Sharingan, the ice ninja's speed was just too much. How the hell are you able to move so fast? Sasuke yelled in frustration. I could tell you, but that wouldn't be very smart on my part, would it? Haku asked, as he resumed his onslaught. Once again, Sasuke tried in vain to catch Haku or strike him with his katana, but he moved too fast. More wounds and bruises appeared on his body as a result of the gradual beatdown. I need to destroy those mirrors. Luckily, Sasuke managed to dodge one of Haku's attacks while making several hand seals. Fire release, Great Fireball Jutsu. Sasuke breathed a huge fireball at two mirrors that were close to each other. But much to his shock, the mirrors were unaffected by the attack. Nice idea. Sadly, you'll need flames as hot as the sun itself in order to melt my ice, Haku commented. Let's hope he doesn't find out that I need to use my chakra in order to keep the mirrors from melting, or else, my jutsu would be undone, Haku thought. Now prepare to fall before the power of the Yuki clan. An exciting fight, don't you think so? Jiraiya asked with a wide grin. If you say so, Raza replied, not hiding his boredom. Since both combatants were from Konoha, none of Jiraiya's fellow Kage nor Shibuki were particularly invested in the first match, something the Sannin knew all too well. Indeed. But it's only a matter of time before Haku defeats the Uchiha. Haku is the most talented ninja of his generation I've ever seen, Zabuza commented. Do not underestimate Sasuke, Zabuza-san. Especially since he had already proved multiple times how strong he can be, Itachi countered. I admit that Haku is indeed talented, but you should remember that Sasuke earned his victory in the prelims thanks to his strength and skill, while luck played a huge role in Haku's. Does it look like the beating Haku is giving your brother is a product of luck, Uchiha? Zabuza sneered. Just wait and see. Sasuke still has quite a few aces in the hole, Itachi replied. Meanwhile, back in the arena, Haku continued his vicious onslaught, albeit this time he landed less hits on his opponent, since Sasuke was slowly but surely learning to dodge and counter his extremely fast attacks. Even then, it wouldn't be long until he sustained too many injuries. Damn it, I didn't think I'd had to use this so soon, but I have no other options, Sasuke thought as he made several hand seals. Fire release, Burning Man. Sasuke suddenly burst into flames. The flabbergasted Haku didn't have time to stop, and burned his hand the moment he tried to slash Sasuke with a trio of senbon he was holding. The sudden searing pain made him lose his balance and crash into the ground. Do you like this, Haku? Sasuke asked. I got the idea from that Kumo girl Hinata fought against. Now not only you can't even touch me, but I've become impervious to your ice attacks. We'll see about that. Haku replied as he resumed his attack, but this time he only limited himself to throw senbon, which Sasuke managed to expertly deflect with his katana. Maintaining that fire shield covering his body must consume a lot of chakra. All I need to do is fight smart and wait for him to run out of chakra. While Haku continued his fast-paced onslaught, Sasuke made more hand seals. Fire release, Annihilation Nova. What? Sasuke's fiery aura started to burn with more intensity, and it quickly expanded into a huge fireball, as if Sasuke himself was a living bomb. Despite his speed, Haku was unable to avoid the ever-present fire, and was caught in the blast radius, which burned him as well as pushed him backwards with an impressive force. When the Nova disappeared, Sasuke breathed heavily. That attack had used an inordinate amount of chakra, and could no longer sustain his fire aura. But Haku was left in an even worse state than him. Though, even burned and bruised, Haku managed to stand up. I need to go back to the mirror. Like hell I'm going to let you. Sasuke's voice shouted. Fire release, Burning Edge. Haku saw his opponent leaping at him, katana in hand. Haku noticed Sasuke no longer had the fire aura surrounding him, but his blade was still wreathed in flames. Haku managed to generate another sword made of ice that successfully blocked Sasuke's blows, fire and all. Even then, the fire nova left Haku very weakened, and could barely parry the Uchiha's vicious assault. That's it, until he couldn't continue anymore, and Sasuke swiped the sword from his hand. Exhausted, Haku fell to his knees. Do you surrender? Sasuke asked, pointing his flaming sword at Haku. Why yes. Haku conceded. I give up. Hyuga couldn't help to feel a pang of sadness upon hearing his surrogate son losing the first match, but there was nothing she could do. Haku has forfeited. Winner of the match, Sasuke Uchiha. Hyuga announced. The crowd erupted into a mix of cheers and boos. Even if Sasuke wasn't one who seeked general approval, he couldn't help but feel comforted to know that at least some people cheered for him. Hyuga called some medic nin to take Haku to the stadium's infirmary while she instructed Sasuke to go back to the competitor's box and wait for his next match. There will be a 10-minute recess. Hyuga announced to the crowd. Then, the second match will begin. Shizune let out a sigh of relief as she leaned back on her seat. Thank goodness. He won without going berserk this time. Then again, Haku isn't the kind of person who seeks to rile his opponents. Relax, I already told you that Sasuke knows what he's doing, Shisui told her. Let's just hope he doesn't let the booze affect him much. It doesn't seem so, Sakura noted. By the way, what was that fire jutsu? Oh that? Something Sasuke created. He wanted a jutsu way more powerful than any of which already had, and wasn't happy with what Itachi or I could teach him, Shisui explained. But then again, it consumes a lot of chakra, so I don't think it's worth it, even if it gave him the victory. I can understand that. If it wasn't for the chakra-enhanced technique, I wouldn't have anything with enough packing power as well, Sakura replied. Kurenai had been watching the match from the stands, alongside Asuma. She let out a sigh after Hyuga announced Sasuke's victory. And the first defeat of the day goes to the assault squad, Kurenai sadly moaned. Guess it was much to ask for Haku to break Sasuke's undefeated streak. Hey, don't be so glum, Asuma told her as she put an arm around her shoulder. You still have 2 more Jinan in the finals. Plus Haku gave Sasuke quite a hard time. Guess you're right, Kurenai admitted. That doesn't make Haku's defeat any easier to swallow, still. Now it's Choji's turn to fight, Asuma said. He's been training with his clan, so I don't know how strong he's now. Let's hope he can defeat that Kumo Kunoichi. She's already responsible for one of my Jinan being out of the exam. Asuma wasn't the only one eager to see Choji's match. Shikamaru and Ino were also sitting in the stands, not far from their sensei. Choji better not lose this one. If he wastes his chance to avenge me, I'm going to kill him. Ino screeched. Hey, calm down. It's not like that Kumo girl did something that horrible, Shikamaru pointed out. But when he saw Ino's furious glare, he decided to shut up. Aw man, I can't believe Haku lost. Naruto whined. Well, on one side that means I can beat Sasuke myself, but I would have preferred if Haku won. Now he won't be Chunin. Actually, Haku-kun can still be Chunin. He put up a good fight. Or at least, that's what I think, Hinata added. However, Haku-kun may have made things easier for us. Huh? That huge fire jutsu Sasuke-san used consumed a lot of chakra. Even if he can rest until his next match comes, he won't be able to regenerate the chakra Haku-kun made him spend, Hinata explained. At that moment, Sasuke arrived back at the competitor's box. He was badly bruised and had multiple cuts in his clothes. He walked towards the only other member of the medical squad. Karin, I need you to heal me, the Uchiha told the redhead. However, rather than nodding eagerly before healing him, Karin merely put her hands on her hips and replied, would it kill you to say please just once? Every Konoha Jinan watched the redhead as if she suddenly grew another head. Sasuke was the most surprised, and while indignant, he wasn't in the mood nor have the energy to get into an argument with the bespectacled girl. Karin, would you be so kind to heal me, please? Sasuke asked, gritting his teeth. That's much better. See? It's not so bad being polite once in a while, don't you think so? Karin stated as she began treating Sasuke's injuries. Did Naruto started to babble. Did Karin Nichin give Sasuke attitude? I'm as surprised as you are, Tamaki mentioned. Hinata might have an idea for Karin's sudden change of attitude towards Sasuke, but decided to remain quiet for the time being. Well, I better get going, Choji stated. Ino told me many times that I have to avenge her loss at the prelims. Actually, it will be you the one needing to be avenged as well, Karu replied as she exited the box. Don't listen to her. I'm sure you'll do great, Choji. Naruto told his former classmate. We will be cheering for you, Choji-san, Hinata added. Thanks. I'll do my best. Choji replied, before joining her opponent in the arena. Since the next match involved the only Kumo ninja who made it to the finals, the Raikage's interest was much greater now. Still, he couldn't help but feel puzzled upon seeing Karu's opponent. Hokage, there must be a mistake, I told Jiraiya. There's no way that Lard Ball can be Karu's opponent. I know that at first sight, the members of the Akimichi clan don't look all that threatening, but trust me, there's a reason as for why they earned a spot among Konoha's strongest, Jiraiya confidently replied. The Raikage snorted. Please. That fat boy won't even be a warm-up for Karu. Choji and Karu stood in front of each other while Hyuga made sure they were ready to fight. Ready to lose, fatty? Karu asked. I've seen you fight, I know that as long as I don't let you crush me under your weight, I'll be fine. Choji grit his teeth and curled his hands into fists, and repressed the urge of beating the dark-skinned girl into the ground. Fortunately for him, one of the things his father and him worked on during the training was his temper. Choji, I know that you're sensitive to some kind of insults, but if you're to become a Chunin, you can't let people goad you so easily. You need to learn to channel your rage instead of being consumed by it, his father had told him. You've seen nothing, Choji darkly replied. Hyuga could feel the killing intent coming from the Akimichi kid, and thought that it would be best to start as soon as possible. The second match of the Chunin exam finals between Choji Akimichi from Konoha, and Karu from Kumo. She raised her hand in the air. Begin. The moment that word came out of Hyuga's lips, Choji was already preparing his next attack. He placed his hands together, and separated his legs. Partial multi-size jutsu. Choji's arms suddenly swelled and grew in size. He slowly raised his right arm, and tried to smash Karu under his giant fist. The Kumo Kunoichi expertly jumped aside, dodging the smash, as she withdrew her katana and charged at Choji. Thank you for being left wide open, Karu exclaimed as she dashed for the kill. However, much to the dark-skinned redhead's shock, Choji's other arm moved at a surprising speed and smacked her away as if she was a fly. Damn it, he pretended to be much slower than he was to trick me, Karu cursed inwardly as she stood up. Choji's arms then returned to normal, and made a hand seal. Multi-size jutsu. Choji's body bloated like a balloon, and his head and limbs disappeared inside his clothes, before he started rolling like a boulder down a mountain, ready to crush Karu. Human bullet tank. The same attack he used to defeat that Taki ninja. I shouldn't try to stop it, at least from the front. An attack like that must consume a lot of chakra, so I'll dodge it until he gets tired, Karu decided, as she jumped aside the moment the human boulder got close to her. Choji noticed that he had missed his mark, as he immediately turned around and tried to roll over Karu again. The dark-skinned Kunoichi jumped aside once more, but Choji didn't appear to stop. The process repeated many times. Karu was started to grow tired. Damn it, how can this fat ass have so much endurance? The Kumo Kunoichi thought in frustration. Just like I guessed, she thought that I would be the one to tire first, Choji thought in satisfaction. Now, let's reveal one of my secret weapons. Fire release, human flame bullet tank. Choji's body burst into flames, turning into a boulder made of fire. His speed increased, and he left a trail of fire wherever he passed. Shit, Karu shouted as she tried to dodge the gigantic human fireball. I can't continue dodging like this. I need to stop this. Well, Reikage Dono, did you expect Karu to have such a hard time against Choji? Jiraiya asked with a wide grin. The Reikage glared at him back, and growled. The match is far from over. I'm sure Karu will end up victorious. Whoa, look at that Hinata. It seems that you're not the only one who combined elemental ninjutsu with a clan jutsu. Naruto pointed out. It always surprised me that nobody thought of that yet, Hinata replied. But then again, I only combined lightning release with the gentle fist because I wasn't good enough for the normal gentle fist. Other people might not think their clan jutsu are in need of an improvement, she thought. Naruto would have disagreed. Maybe I should do that too, given the results. Wonder if I could combine wind release with the Rasengan. Naruto thought. Then he cast those thoughts aside, and decided that he should study that idea later while he now focused on the finals. Come on, Choji. Show her who's boss. Now the tables had been turned. Using the multi-size jutsu once again to enlarge his arms, Choji was now relentlessly attacking Karu, forcing her to dodge his deadly blows, making her grow tired. Karu wasn't going to let such thing happen, and she jumped backwards as she pulled multiple shuriken from her many ninja tool pouches. Let's see how good are you against the technique that took out your blonde friend. Karu then infused the steel stars with her lightning chakra. Lightning release, shuriken lightning transmission. Choji's mouth formed an uncharacteristic smirk as he saw the electrical spider web flying at him. Just as expected. Thanks goodness that Dad had something to counter that. His arms quickly returned to normal, and started to run at her while making a hand seal. Reverse multi-size jutsu. Suddenly, much to Karu's disbelief, Choji started to shrink, and became small enough in time the lightning-charged shuriken harmlessly passed over his head. However, he continued shrinking until he disappeared from sight. The hell? Where is he? Karu asked as she started to frantically look around. Down here. A high-pitched voice said from behind. Karu looked down, and saw a diminutive Choji between her feet, looking up at her. The red-haired kunoichi smirked evilly. Now that was a good way to avoid my shuriken, hey. She then raised her foot over Choji threateningly. But that jutsu of yours has a major downside. Allow me to show you. Choji jumped in time before Karu's foot flattened him, and in a few seconds he found himself a couple meters above her. At this size I might be vulnerable, but I can jump so high and move so fast she won't be able to touch me. And now, time to show her that size doesn't matter. Choji thought while he made a hand seal midair. Partial multi-size jutsu. While tiny, Choji's body bloated once again. Mini-human bullet tank. Taking advantage of gravity, Choji then slammed his body against Karu's eye. Ow! My eye, Karu yelled as she held her eye in pain. But Choji wasn't done. Taking advantage of the bounce caused by the first attack, Choji rammed his body against Karu's other eye. Ow! My other eye, she yelled again, holding both eyes. Ha ha, yeah. Take that you bitch. A voice that sounded awfully a lot like Ino's shouted from the stands. After landing on the ground a couple meters from Karu, Choji made a hand seal, and returned to his normal size, since being small for long would be a huge risk. Anyway, now that he had blinded his opponent, victory was at hand. Now time to finish this, Choji shouted as he enlarged one of his arms, and readied to punch Karu into the other life. Like hell it is, you fat ass. The still blinded Karu replied as she flew through hand seals. Lightning release, lightning flash. Karu's body turned into a living lantern, flooding the stadium with a potent, white light that blinded everybody unlucky enough to have their eyes open at that time and were not wearing sunglasses. Which frankly, were most of the people attending there. The next few minutes were completely uneventful, as neither Choji nor Karu dared to attack each other. It was a race to see who would recover their eyesight first, and thus earning a game-changing advantage over their respective rival. Forcing her eyes open as they slowly adapted to the natural light, Karu appeared to be that person. Okay, he's still blind. If I play my cards correctly, I can win this, Karu thought as she made a hand seal. A few seconds later, Choji also regained his eyesight, and saw that Karu had just made a clone. Noticing it casted a shadow, the Akimichi heir realized that it was a shadow clone. Even if a single clone wasn't much of a threat, he didn't lower his guard. The Kumo Kunoichi and her double wasted no time and ran towards Choji while increasing the distance from each other. At the same time they made identical hand seals. Lightning release, lightning transmission. An electrical chain formed between the hands of Karu and her clone, as they both rushed at Choji. The Akimichi clan heir didn't have much time to react, but fortunately, he knew exactly what to do. Multi-size jutsu. Choji's arms grew again in size, and managed to stop the two dark-skinned kunoichi on their track by catching them in his now huge hands. "Gotcha!" Choji claimed. He then started to squeeze them. "Now let's see which one of you is the clone." Two things happened, both which shocked Choji. Literally in one case. The first one was that both of them turned out to be clones, as they burst once enough pressure was applied. The second was that they weren't shadow clones as Choji had guessed, but lightning clones, resulting in a painful electric shock. Now, unfortunately for Choji, he didn't have time to realize that there was a large boulder near him that wasn't there a few seconds ago. Said boulder burst into smoke, revealing Karu, and leapt at the Akimichi as she unsheathed her katana before doing several hand seals. Lightning release, Thunderblade. Still stunned by the previous shock, Choji was unable to move in any way, and Karu's electric katana sank into the flesh of Choji's shoulder. The constant stream of electricity did the rest. "Arg!" Choji yelled as electricity surged through his body. After a few seconds, Choji couldn't take it anymore, and collapsed on his back as if he were a fallen tree. Karu pulled her sword from Choji's shoulder. Upon seeing that Choji didn't move, Hyuga immediately went to check the fallen Akimichi. While he didn't move, his still had a heartbeat, and he was breathing. Choji Akimichi can't continue fighting. Winner of the second match, Karu. The purple-haired woman declared. Upon being declared victor, Karu sighed in exhaustion. She had won, but she had to work for that victory and she didn't walk out of the fight precisely unscratched. "I better step up my game if I want to get that promotion," Karu thought. While Choji wasn't exactly the most popular ninja of his generation among any circle outside his family, the sight of a Konoha ninja being defeated by a foreign fighter didn't sit well with the majorly native crowd, who erupted into a cacophony of boos and insults aimed at the Kumo Kunoichi. For her part, Karu flipped all of them the middle finger before returning to the competitor's box. Hyuga called some medic nin to take Choji to the stadium's infirmary. "There will be a recess of 10 minutes. Hyuga announced to the crowd. "Then, the third match will begin." "See? I told you there was no way Karu would lose," the Raikage claimed. "Indeed. That kunoichi is very talented. But you must admit that Choji made her work for the victory," Jiraiya countered. "That doesn't matter, Hokage. In our world, all what matters are the results. Karu won, how much she had to struggle or what did she do to win is completely irrelevant," I replied. "I have to agree with the Raikage," Raza interjected. "Of course you do, somebody who sees his own children as nothing but weapons," Jiraiya thought with disdain. "And the second defeat of the day goes to the tactical squad," Asuma sadly said. "Now you know how I feel," Kurenai said as she placed a hand on Asuma's shoulder. "Well, you still have two more Genin competing." "Choji was my team's only representative," Asuma replied. "Wonder if his performance will be enough to merit a promotion. Anyway, Naruto goes next. Let's hope that he will do better than Haku and Choji." Not everybody booed Karu. The Kumo delegation, as well as her teammates and sensei, cheered for her. But sadly, their cheers were silenced by the overwhelming boos. Good thing Karu won. Otherwise, Kumo would have been left in a bad place, and the Raikage would be really angry. And once the Raikage gets angry. For once, Amoe didn't want to imagine one of his many possible overly convoluted scenarios. Karu is really strong, and those who doubt it will be proved wrong. All his opponents might as well flee, since he was trained by an amazing ninja like me. Killer Bee rapped. Shikamaru sighed sadly, while Ino groaned in frustration. "Damn Choji, I was planning on treating him to an all-you-can-eat buffet if he avenged me," Ino said as she clenched her fist. Shikamaru let out a whistle. "Then your wallet dodged a deadly shuriken, Ino." "I know, I keep reminding myself that in order to calm myself down." Upon returning to the competitor's box, nobody congratulated Karu on her victory since she was the only kunoichi from Kumagakure. Not that she cared, mind you. She then pulled a hand mirror and checked her face. "Oh man, look at that. That fat kid did a number on my face," Karu whined upon seeing her swollen, blackened eyes. She then pulled out a storage scroll that was holding a small med kit, and applied some medicine to her eyes. While Karu healed her eyes and hoped for the next matches to be as long as possible so she could have as much time to recover as possible before her duel with Sasuke Uchiha, everybody else's attention were on Naruto and Temari, the next ones to fight. "So, our turn finally comes," Temari stated as she walked towards Naruto. "Ready for our fight?" "Hey, you can bet on it. I was born ready," Naruto proudly declared. "Let's hope you last longer than Pineapple Head." I don't like easy victories, Temari replied. Naruto scratched his head, incorporated confusion. Pineapple head? Who are you talking? Oh, you mean Shikamaru, Naruto said in realization, then he started to laugh. Pineapple head, that's a good one, hee hee hee. Temari just rolled her eyes, but smiled. Anyway, to answer your question, you won't have an easy victory, Naruto's face grew serious. Because you're not going to win. Temari's smile grew a bit. Well, at least you have more motivation. Regardless of the winner, this will be a fight to remember. I hope so. Shall we go? Naruto asked. I'm right behind you, Temari replied. Naruto-kun. Hinata called. Good luck in your match. Thanks, Hinata. The blonde replied with a wide, confident smile. But you don't need luck when you're as strong as I am, hee hee. Hinata smiled as she saw her crush walk into the arena alongside his opponent. Even then, a little luck can never hurt, right? Naruto Niazen's going to fight now. Hagane cheered upon seeing Naruto walk into the arena. Naruto Niazen. We're here, Kaida yelled at the top of her lungs as she waved her arms. Her voice managed to be heard among the constant uproar, and Naruto waved back at his younger siblings. He saw us, Hagane exclaimed. That brat better win if he knows what's good for him, Tsunade said as she protectively held her betting tickets. Tsunade-sama, Shizune said in a pleading tone. What? Do you know how much money is at stake? Tsunade asked her apprentice. It's not that Naruto-kun forced you to bet on him, didn't he? Look at that, Hokage. It's time for our respective children to fight, Raza pointed out. A match I wouldn't miss for anything, Jiraiya replied, eager to see Naruto in action. Maybe you will change your mind after seeing your son humiliated by my daughter, Raza smugly said. I wouldn't be so sure. Naruto is an extremely strong ninja for a Genin, Jiraiya remarked. And Temari is the strongest kunoichi of her generation. Nobody but Gaara is able to beat her. She's pretty much a Chunin in all but name. And soon, you will see it, Raza replied, very sure of himself. In the stands reserved for the Suna delegation, Kankuro observed his sister and her rival walking into the arena. Let's see how you deal with my sister, Naruto, the puppeteer apprentice thought. You'll need something more than a few naked pretty boys to take Temari down. Back in the arena, Naruto and Temari were in front of each other, both of them eagerly waiting for Hyuga to officially begin the match. The third match of the Chunin exam finals between Naruto Uzumaki from Konoha, and Temari from Suna. The purple-haired woman raised her hand in the air. Begin. The second Hyuga started the match, Naruto already made a hand seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Two Naruto clones appeared flanking him while the original pulled out a couple of kunai. The two clones grabbed Naruto by each side, jumped and tossed Naruto at Temari while in mid-air shortly before disappearing. The flying blonde was ready to slash Temari, but the Suna kunoichi parried the attack with her folded war fan. Temari smirked at him. You thought that as a ranged specialist, if you managed to close the starting gap you could beat me already? She shook her head in disappointment. TSK, I didn't expect you to underestimate me like that, Naruto. Temari then counterattacked by quickly swinging her folded fan like it was a steel club, as well as adding a few kicks for good measure, pushing Naruto back. Damn it, this girl is pretty strong in melee combat too. There goes my original strategy. Naruto cursed inwardly as he parried Temari's attacks as he could. Heads up, Temari said as she unfolded her war fan. She then continued to physically beat Naruto up with it, except that every swing was accompanied by a powerful gust of wind. After swinging her fan with enough force, Temari was able to produce a tornado that hurled Naruto backwards several meters. She then folded the fan, and stabbed it into the ground. That's it? Naruto jumped back on his feet, his determination unbroken. You wish. Good. I was fearing that Shikamaru was the standard of Konoha ninja, Temari sharply replied. So, what are you going to do now, Naruto? How about this? Naruto then made the same hand seal as before. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Dozens of Naruto clones popped into existence, albeit they didn't appear around the original or at random locations. They appeared forming a circle around Temari, who didn't look impressed. Quantity does not equal quality, Temari pointed out. Quantity has a quality of its own, the real Naruto replied. Then he moved his arms forwards. Attack! Shouting multiple battle cries, the Naruto clones charged at Temari. Very smart, Naruto. You know that while my attacks cover a wide area, they aren't wide enough to repel an attack from every side. But if you think you already got me, you have another thing coming, Temari thought as she merely leapt in the air seconds before the charging clones could get her. However, while she was in mid-air, Temari saw that, much to her horror, only half of the Naruto clones had charged, and the other half remained back, and were pulling out kunai and shuriken from their ninja tool pouches. Temari wouldn't be able to dodge the incoming steel storm while in mid-air. Now! The real Naruto cried. Kunai and shuriken flew to her from every direction. If Temari was a less skilled kunoichi, the fight would have been already over. Sickle Weasel Jutsu. Huh? Rather than aiming at the incoming projectiles, Temari swung her war fan downwards, creating a powerful tornado that quickly pushed her upwards into the air, allowing her to avoid the clone's steel barrage. Wait until she gets down, then attack again. Naruto ordered his clones, who quickly pulled out more weapons from their pouches. However, while still in the air, Temari then placed herself on top of her unfolded war fan, and used it to glide above the stunned Naruto clones like she was surfing in mid-air, and gracefully landed at a safety distance from the orange-clad army. Upon touching the ground, Temari folded her fan again, and smugly smirked at the dumbfounded Naruto. Cool, huh? She asked, then quickly unfolded her fan once again. I believe I let you attack me long enough, now it's my turn. Great Sickle Weasel Jutsu. Swinging his giant fan again, Temari created an incredibly powerful gale force wind that pretty much puffed all the Naruto clones which were caught by surprise by the sudden attack. When the wind attack was over, only Naruto remained. Well, you're indeed a tough nut to crack, Naruto stated. I'm starting to see why Shikamaru wasn't that eager to fight you. Don't tell me you're already thinking and giving up. Temari exasperatedly replied. Oh, no, never. This only adds to the challenge, Naruto laughed. Is that, well, I kind of expect you to be strong, but you blew away my expectations. Nice pun. And by nice and I mean god-awful, Temari replied as her face grimaced. Let's continue this. Shikamaru and Ino watched the match unfold with a lot of interest. At least, Ino looked interested, her teammate looked as impassible as always. You should be more invested on this match, given that Naruto is fighting against the girl that eliminated you from the exams, Ino pointed out. You should cheer Naruto so he can avenge you. I don't want Naruto to avenge me, the lazy Nara replied, and upon seeing Ino's murderous glare, he added, I do want Naruto to win, because he's a friend and a fellow Konoha ninja, but the fact that he's fighting against Temari is irrelevant to me. Come on Shikamaru, where is your pride? Ino exasperatedly asked. I think I left it at home, alongside all my fucks to give regarding revenge, Shikamaru cheekily replied, making Ino frown. Well Naruto, what are you going to do now? Temari asked, smirking confidently. Keep fighting. Is there any other option? Naruto then made a hand seal, creating a handful of clones at both his sides. You must think clones are a solution to everything, Temari mentioned as she shook her head. You'd be surprised, Naruto grinned before making several hand seals. Wind release, cyclone vortex. Naruto cast his arms forward, releasing a powerful wind vortex at Temari, who smirked even wider. Oh, so you're a wind type too? Interesting, I thought that there were only in Suna, Temari commented before swinging her war fan. Sickle Weasel Jutsu. The two wind blasts clashed, but Temari's attack was way more powerful than Naruto's, who despite the fact that he was still channeling chakra into it, it was slowly being pushed back. However, this is something the Jinchuriki had already predicted. Now! He told his clones as he tried to push back Temari's wind jutsu. Upon seeing the clones pulling out kunai, Temari adopted a defensive stance. However, rather than tossing them at her, they tossed them at the ground. The Suna kunoichi noticed that the kunai had paper bombs attached, albeit of a different kind. Rather than being dull yellow, the tags were bright red. She identified the kanji of fire on a nearby one, which gave her a bad feeling. Activate the flaming seals. The original Naruto ordered, and Temari lost all the color of her skin. Several Naruto clones made a hand seal, and tags exploded in a fiery ball of fire, which was exponentially enlarged by the two wind jutsu colliding in the middle. The fire completely engulfed both of them, but since Naruto was still channeling his, the giant wall of fire moved towards Temari. Shit, she yelled as she tried to find a way to come up. Only one thing came to her mind, but it was dumb to the point of being suicidal. With nothing to lose, Temari swung her fan again. Wind release, wind cutter jutsu. The wall of flames roared with more intensity upon being fanned, however the wind managed to cut the incoming wall of fire in two. Temari threw herself at the fissure before it closed again, trying to ignore the pain coming from the flames licking her skin. Thankfully, she managed to come out of it, but she was far from unscathed. Her clothes were badly burned, as was a good chunk of her skin, albeit they weren't very grave burns since Temari used her chakra to shield her whole body from the fire's heat, something Tsunade are taught as means of chakra control instead of water walking. Temari, however, had no time breathe, as 3 Naruto clones charged at her. "Do you like the flaming seals the boss created? They go really good with his wind release jutsu," one of the clones said as he tried to kick Temari. "They're very easy to make. All he needed was to tweak the existing explosive tags and the help of somebody with a fire affinity," another clone explained as he threw a punch at Temari's face. Fighting against those clones wouldn't be too hard, but her burns and wounds made her feel intense pain whenever she moved an arm or a leg. Even if she defeated those clones, Temari wouldn't last long. Swinging her folded fan in a wide arc that almost made her drop it due to the intense pain, Temari was able to destroy all 3 clones. Then, much to her horror, she saw Naruto and the rest of his clones charging at her. "This ends now," Naruto exclaimed as 2 of his clones tossed him into the air. Then, other 2 clones jumped, grabbed Naruto while still mid-air, and tossed him against Temari, feet forward. Uzumaki Sky Bomb. Temari didn't have enough energy to dodge the attack, and Naruto's dropkick connected. Thanks to the additional momentum gained, he hit her with such force that she was sent hurling backwards, her body slamming against a wall, before falling back to the ground with a thud. Temari tried to stand up, but was unable to. Hyuga went to check the fallen kunoichi, and realized that she was in no fighting condition. Temari can't continue fighting. Winner of the 3rd match, Naruto Uzumaki. The female proctor declared. "Yes." Naruto loudly cheered as he jumped up and down. The crowd erupted into a massive uproar. After the previous fight, the Konoha spectators were really happy to see a native ninja beating a foreign one. Naruto started to run around the arena, waving at the public, and even throwing kisses at them. Meanwhile, a pair of medic nin carried Temari away. "I always knew that girl would be a disappointment," Raza spat in disgust. "Don't say that," Jiraiya replied. He was about to rub in Naruto's victory, but he didn't want to insult his opponent, especially given how skilled she had proved to be. She gave Naruto quite a good fight. You should feel proud of her. It doesn't matter if the fight is good or not, all what matters is the result, and she lost. "I don't think why I should feel proud," Raza retorted. "Let's hope Gaara doesn't bring as much shame to my village." Jiraiya looked at the Sunagakuer leader in disgust, and shook his head. It was a miracle that those children appeared so well adjusted after being raised by such a douchebag. "Yay! Naruto Niazan won." Kaida cheered as she hugged her brother. "Good thing he did. That Temari girl was a really powerful opponent," Shizune commented. "Say, Tsunade-sama, do you think that this match will be enough to earn him a promotion?" Shizune asked, but Tsunade didn't reply. She then noticed that the seat beside her was empty. "Tsunade-sama? Get out of my way." Tsunade's voice shouted from afar as she pushed several spectators aside. "I need to cash these winning tickets. Oh, I knew that brat would make me rich." Shizune noticed that Tsunade was heading towards the betting booth. She sighed and shook her head in defeat. "A victory at last," Kurenai stated as she sighed in relief. "I was fearing that Naruto would fall against that Tsunakunoichi. I knew that that girl was strong, but I didn't imagine just how much," Asuma pondered. "She's easily as strong as the average Konoha Chunin. Poor Shikamaru never had a chance to begin with." "Indeed. Okay, let's hope that this won't be the assault squad's only victory. Hinata goes next. Against Kakashi's pupil. I'm sure it will be a fight worth watching," Asuma observed. After deciding he had enjoyed the cheers and applause from the public long enough, Hyuga told Naruto to return to the competitor's box. There, his remaining teammate awaited him. "Naruto-kun, you did it," Hinata stated in an unusually loud display of joy. "Ha! Was there any doubt?" Naruto proudly replied. "And I did it without using my best moves. By the way, let me heal you," Hinata offered, and used the mystical palm jutsu on her crush. "Hinata, you shouldn't use your chakra on me when you have a fight now," Naruto told her. "Nonsense. This won't take any effort," Hinata dismissed Naruto's concerns as she continued healing him. "Congratulations on your victory, Naruto," Gaara's monotone voice said, startling the blonde. He didn't hear him walk towards them. Thanks," Naruto uneasily answered. About your sister. You don't have to apologize. She's a ninja, she knew what she was getting into. You did what you had to do, and so did she, Gaara stated. As I expected, your power is truly worthy of admiration. Haha, thanks. I can't wait to see you in action as well. That fight against Shino was really short. I see. Gaara looked away pensive, then looked back at Naruto. I hope I can put on a better display of my abilities during my match. And then Gaara walked towards another side of the box, leaving Naruto and Hinata alone. After Hinata finished healing Naruto, they stared at each other, as if thinking something to say, but no words came from their mouths. The voice of Hyuga calling for the next competitor snapped them back to the real world. Alright Hinata, your turn. Show everybody what you're made of. Naruto told her. The Hyuga heiress nodded. Why yes. I've been training a lot for this moment. You're not the only one who has been training, Tamaki interjected, while she did some stretching. By the way, you don't happen to have an allergy to cats, do you? I don't think so. Hinata replied. Good, because if I won another match because my opponent is allergic to my summons, well, it could raise a few eyebrows, don't you think so? Don't worry. I'm sure it will be a great match, regardless of who wins, Hinata replied as cordially as possible. I have no doubts about it, Tamaki replied with a smile, before walking out of the box. I'm heading to the arena, her smile went from polite to cruel. I guess that you'll want some time with your boyfriend before we fight, don't you? Both Hinata and Naruto turned very red, and averted their gazes as they tried to babble a response. Anyway, don't make me wait too long, okay? She said as she playfully winked at them. Naruto and Hinata spent a few moments in an uncomfortable silence. Hinata? Naruto asked. Why yes, Naruto-kun? The Hyuga replied. Good luck out there. Hinata's face slowly returned to its usual pale tone, and smiled warmly at him. Thank you. And thus, Hinata went into the arena in order to face her fellow Konoha Kunoichi and former classmate in order to fight for a promotion. Chapter 28. Fight to become a Chunin, Part 2. Or. Cats, tanukis, and beetles, oh my. Look, it's Hinata Ne-chan's turn to fight. A week before the finals had started, Hikari Hyuga had reserved several front row seats for herself, her closest relatives, and some other Hyuga members. To her left was Hanabi, her youngest daughter, and to her right were Neji and his father Hisashi. A dozen other Hyuga members of both main and branch houses occupied the remaining seats, among those were some whom had disapproved of Hinata being kept as the heiress as opposed to Hanabi. Naturally, they weren't going to voice their thoughts in front of her mother, but it was no secret to anybody as to who weren't fond of Hinata. So far, the mood had been quiet among the Hyuga, even during the Naruto fight, but seeing their heiress walk into the arena alongside her opponent caused them to stir with excitement. It was about time, Hikari told her daughter. Let's hope the results of the training pay off. Hinata-sama's opponent didn't strike me as a particularly strong opponent. Hinata-sama shouldn't have any trouble defeating her. Maybe you're right, Neji-kun, but underestimating your adversaries is not a wise thing to do. I thought that after your battle against the Uchiha, you'd know that, Hikari reprimanded him. Neji couldn't help but frown at the mention of his most brutal humiliation so far. His only consolation was that nobody from the clan besides Hinata was there to watch Sasuke pounding the Hyuga prodigy to near death. Not that it made the memory any less painful. There's nothing wrong in making a general assessment of your adversary as long as you keep your guard up, Hisashi intervened. And while I agree with Hikari-sama's statement, I also agree with Neji in that Hinata-sama's match will end in victory. I hope you're right, Hisashi. We all have high hopes on Hinata's performance, Hikari replied. Meanwhile, in the arena, Hinata and Tamaki were in front of each other, waiting expectantly for Hyuga to announce the start of the match. The fourth match of the Chunin exam finals between Hinata Hyuga, from Konoha, and Tamaki, from Konoha. The purple-haired woman raised her hand in the air. Begin. Wasting no time, Tamaki started to form hand seals that Hinata recognized as those used for the summoning jutsu. I can't let her summon her cats. Hinata thought as she activated her Byakugan and launched herself at her adversary. Tamaki had to interrupt the seal sequence in order to avoid Hinata's palm strike. However, much to her shock, Hinata's Byakugan detected two blurs that rushed towards her. Upon closer look, she realized the blurs were Tamaki's cats, who leapt into the air, ready to pounce her. With almost no time to react, the Hyuga heiress turned around and managed to kick the male cat, Denga, before he could slash her. She managed to hit the female cat, Hina, with a palm strike, but not without taking a painful scratch from her in return. How did you do it? Hinata asked as she proceeded to heal the scratch. I interrupted your summoning jutsu. That you did, Tamaki said as she started to put on her bladed gauntlets. But Denka and Hina were already in the stadium. I knew that you wouldn't let me summon them. She baited me by pretending to summon her cats. When the cats were already there, I have to stay alert. Tamaki might not be the strongest kunoichi, but she's really crafty, Hinata thought. Tamaki just finished putting on her gauntlets. So are you ready to fight? This time for real? Tamaki asked as she and her cats adopted a fighting pose. As Naruto watched Hinata and Tamaki fight each other, he was approached by the third Jinchuriki in the competitor's box. So, that's the girl you told me about? Fu casually asked. Yeah. Naruto replied with a small smile. She's pretty cute. And looks like a nice girl. No wonder why you like her, Fu stated. Yeah. Well, if only she liked me back. Naruto sadly replied, looking down. Fu looked at him with her eyes wide open, as if Naruto said an obscenity. Are you kidding me? Huh? The blonde dumbly asked. Come on, that girl's crazy for you, Fu exclaimed. Didn't you notice the way she acts when she's around you? How? Naruto asked, not sure if that was a rhetoric question. The same way you act towards her? Fu asked, hoping that it would ring a bell. My goodness, you may thank Kami for your good looks and skill as a ninja, because otherwise you wouldn't go a long way with that empty head of yours, Fu stated as she lightly knocked Naruto's head with her knuckles. Knock it off. Naruto protested, swiping Fu's arm away. Listen, it's not that easy, okay? How so? The green-haired girl asked. Hinata and I know each other since we were little. We were each other's first and best friend for half our lives. And I absolutely loved how things used to be. But no, I find myself seeing her with different eyes, and realize that things will never be the same no matter what I do. Hell, even if she does likes me back and we become a couple, what if things don't work out and we break up? We won't be able to go back as just being friends like nothing happened. Fu placed a comforting hand on Naruto's shoulder. Yes, you're right. Things will be different. But they may be better as well. Nothing ever stays the same, and trying to force them so is foolish. It sounds to me that your friendship with Hinata wants to become something more. You should let things flow their natural course, don't fight against it. Besides, even if things don't work out, I'm sure you'll never stop being friends. If Hinata was the kind of person that would give up on you the moment things don't go smoothly, you wouldn't be her friend either, right? Naruto stared at Fu in disbelief for a few seconds. Don't take this the wrong way, but you're way smarter than you look. Of course. Fu proudly replied. People tend to assume that just because I'm bubbly and outgoing, I'm easily distracted, and more often than not say the first thing that crosses my mind without thinking first. Fu then paused, and looked confused. Wait a minute, where I was going with all of this? That you're smart? Ah, yes, of course. That I'm super smart and you should totally follow my awesome advice. Fu energetically declared once again. So when the match is over, I want you to walk towards Hinata and give her a huge kiss in the lips. Naruto remained silent for a few seconds. I think that maybe I should try to tell her how I feel first. Thanks for your advice. So how about if we focus on the current match? Fu smiled. That's a good idea too. Come on Hinata, you can win this, Naruto shouted. Go Tamaki. Kick her ass. Fu cheered. Naruto then turned at her with an indignant scowl. What? Hinata may be your crush, but I don't know her at all, while Tamaki is a friend of mine. Lightning release, Thunder Palm. Hinata activated her signature jutsu, as her hands started to crackle with blue and white electricity, before she tried to strike Tamaki. The cat Kunoichi elegantly jumped back, avoiding the attack. Guess I better do my best to avoid your sparky hands, Tamaki commented. Your hands aren't exactly fit for caresses either, Hinata replied as she dodged a swipe from Tamaki's bladed gauntlets. Her Byakugan detected one of the cats trying to attack her from behind, but she was quick enough to repel him with a good-placed kick. Thanks to sparring with Naruto, I'm used to fight against multiple opponents at once, Hinata proudly thought. Upon seeing the cat, Denka, easily standing up, she added, but these cats won't poof after taking one hit. This time, both Tamaki and her cats lunged at Hinata from different directions. Hinata merely jumped aside, hoping for the three to crash into each other. But displaying their agility, the two cats managed to quickly turn around and leap at Hinata once again. She quickly struck one of the cats, the male one, with an accurate palm strike, but the other one sank her fangs on that very hand. Ow! Hinata yelped as she tried to shake the cat from her arm. Gotcha, Tamaki shouted before lunging at Hinata, her metal claws aimed at her. Even with the cat still biting her arm, Hinata managed to jump aside, and Tamaki's blades only slashed her coat. Hinata managed to get rid of Hina by strongly smacking the cat's head. Then, she looked at her partially shredded coat. "I really like this coat." Hinata whined as she looked at her now ruined piece of clothing. "My grandma sells clothes. I'm sure you can find something. Besides, aren't you Hyuga completely loaded?" Tamaki asked as she dashed against Hinata once again. Death Steel Ring. Once she was close to her target, Tamaki started to rapidly spin with her arms extended. As fast as she could, Hinata took off her jacket and tossed it at Tamaki, who instantly tore it to shreds the moment it touched her. When she was about to counterattack, Hinata was once again blindsided by Denka and Hina. "Don't forget about us." Hina meowed. Vacuum palm. Hinata was able to blast Hina away, but Denka managed to slash one of her arms. "You know, I used to love cats, but after this fight, I don't think that will be the case." "You should admire cats for their skill and intelligence," Tamaki mentioned as she dashed towards Hinata once again. Middle dot drill claw. Tamaki leapt at Hinata with her gauntlets facing forward, as she started to spin while on mid-air. The attack was similar to Kiba's fang passing fang, except that Tamaki moved faster while her spinning speed was lower. Vacuum palm wall. Hinata thrust both palms forward, releasing a powerful vacuum shell, blasting Tamaki away and countering her attack. "Tamaki-chan," Denga cried as he and his sister rushed towards the brown-haired girl. "Ugh, that was surely something," Tamaki dizzily commented as she tried to stand up. "But such a strong attack must have cost her a ton of chakra. I think this is the time to counterattack." Back in the stands, Kiba, Shino and Kakashi were watching the match. "Boy, Hinata surely is way more than she looks," Kiba commented. "I thought that Tamaki would win easily, but Hinata is proving to be especially strong." "Just like how you thought that Karin would be an easy win?" Kakashi sharply replied. Kiba frowned, and averted his eyes. "Hinata may be silent and meek, but that does not make her weak. Don't forget the clan she hails from," Shino punctualized. Then again, Tamaki had only been using the most basic moves of her arsenal. Indeed. Tamaki has been smart in trying to assess her opponent's strength before going all out. "I think she's about to get serious," Kakashi observed. "Though I wouldn't put past Hinata to still have an ace in the hole." "And now," Tamaki dramatically exclaimed as she crossed her arms in front of her face, "you will experience the power of feline ninjutsu." Tamaki spread her arms outwards, and she was enveloped by a fiery blue aura of chakra. "Let's go." Tamaki dashed at Hinata at an amazingly fast speed. All what Hinata could do was adopt a defensive stance and hope to block the incoming hit and counterattack. Cat claw dash. Hinata tried to dodge, but even then Tamaki managed to leave a minor scratch. Her Byakugan noticed that upon rushing past her, Tamaki turned around and was heading towards her once more. Cat claw dash. This time, Hinata managed to completely avoid Tamaki's onslaught, but unfortunately this time she didn't attack alone, and Denka and Hina managed to add more scratches to Hinata's ever-growing collection. The process repeated quite a few more times, with Tamaki viciously assaulting Hinata, the two cats blindsiding her, and the Hyuga doing nothing but trying to defend herself. "If I continue like this, she will beat me," Hinata thought as her mind tried to come up with a solution. "Just like she does to me, I need to attack her when she's vulnerable." Upon dodging one of Tamaki's fast attacks, Hinata quickly formed several hand seals. Lightning release, Thunderbolt. Blue lightning bolts came from Hinata's fingers and flew towards Tamaki. However, making a display of cat-like agility, the brown-haired girl merely leapt above the electrical attack, which merely hit the ground instead. Once again, she was left wide open to Denka and Hina's attack. "I don't like it. Hinata-sama is cornered, and is forced to fight on the defensive," Neji observed. "If this continues, she might lose." "Ha, look at that. The clan heiress, losing to some clan-less kunoichi that relies on cats to fight," a Hyuga elder stated. "Look at how awful the clan's image will be after this. If she's losing this badly against that girl, I can't imagine if she were to fight against somebody truly powerful like the Uchiha or Naruto-san," a younger Hyuga added. It was clear that Hinata's poor performance made her detractors more eager to share their thoughts about the current heiress. "Shut up. Hinata-ne-chan will win. You'll see," Hanabi protested. "The match hasn't ended yet," Hikari reminded everybody. "Do not cast your judgment before the proctor announces a winner." Despite her protest, Hikari was afraid that Hinata would lose. So far, her efforts of teaching her the clan's two most powerful jutsu weren't as fruitful as she had hoped. "Come on Hinata, I know you can do it." Okay, I believe that this has been going on for long enough, Tamaki declared. Denka, Hina, get ready, we're about to finish this. Alright, Tamaki-chan. Denka replied as he and his sister moved in opposite directions. That's it, this is the end, Hinata grimly thought. I have no way of countering Tamaki's attacks, and this one seems to be even stronger than the ones before. If only I was able to master the heavenly spin. Hinata then briefly remembered when she tried to learn the heavenly spin. She had seen Neji mastering it in no time, but even with her mother's help, she was unable to get it right, so she decided to ask Neji for advice. Show me how you do it, Neji asked as he activated his Byakugan. Hinata nodded, and started the jutsu. However, when she was mid-spin, she tripped on her feet and fell into the ground face first. Ouch! I believe I saw where the problem lies, Neji stated as he helped her back on her feet, his Byakugan now deactivated. The heavenly spin requires speed. You don't spin with enough speed, and thus you're unable to build enough momentum, so when you release your chakra, you lose your balance. My mother said something similar, Hinata replied. She told me the same about the normal gentle fist. That's why I had the idea to combine it with lightning chakra. It makes my strikes faster. And why don't you use the same method for the heavenly spin, then? Neji asked. I tried, but while generating lightning chakra in my hands is easy, generating it through my whole body is much harder. Not to mention that I'll need to do it while spinning, and it requires a lot of concentration, Hinata explained, then she looked downwards. Besides, now I see it was nothing but a crutch to make up for my lack of prowess. It would be better if I try to learn the clan's jutsu the old-fashioned way instead of relying on these shortcuts. I don't believe they're shortcuts. You clearly aren't as suited for the gentle fist as the rest of us, so you changed it to fit you better. Maybe that's what you need to do in order to master the heavenly spin. Despite Neji's thoughts, Hinata had been trying to learn the heavenly spin like any other clan member would, with little success. Maybe if I followed Neji's advice and tried to add lightning to it, but it's too late now, Hinata thought in resignation, or is it? Tamaki and her cats charged at her from 3 different directions. No, it is not. I still have one chance to do this. Hinata thought as she ran through the hand seals she used for the thunder palm, except this time she tried to spread the chakra through the whole body. Soon, she felt her body crackling with electricity. Now's my chance. Hinata noticed that she was starting to spin at a much faster rate than when she tried to do it normally. And when she reached the optimal spinning speed, she released her chakra through all her tenketsu. What the? A confused Tamaki asked as she was about to skewer Hinata. Heavenly spin. What happened next left everybody else completely dumbfounded, the Hyuga more so. Instead of turning into a spinning blue dome of chakra, Hinata released several churka shockwaves in every direction, as well as plenty of lightning bolts. The energy released was so powerful that it hurled Tamaki and her cats backwards, and slammed them against the arena's wall. The Hyuga heiress stopped spinning, and then started to walk in a zigzag as if she was drunk, before falling on her knees. Hyuga checked Tamaki. She was unconscious and had multiple bruises and burns, but nothing too threatening. She noticed that Hinata didn't look much better, at the very least she was conscious. Tamaki can't continue fighting. Winner of the 4th match, Hinata Hyuga. The purple-haired woman declared. There will be a recess of 10 minutes before the next match begins. Once again, the crowd erupted into cheers. While the medics took Tamaki away, Hyuga noticed that Hinata didn't move from her spot. She went to check if she was okay. Hey girl, are you feeling alright? Can you continue? Hyuga asked. I feel a bit dizzy. Hinata explained. I think you exhausted most of your chakra, the purple-haired woman explained. I see, did I lose? Hinata asked. Hyuga stared at her, confused. No, you won. Didn't you hear me declaring you the winner of the match? What? Now a bit less dizzy, Hinata noticed the medics taking Tamaki away on a stretcher. Are you feeling alright? Hyuga asked. Weakly, Hinata nodded. In that case, you should return to the competitor's box and wait for your next match. Kurenai, did you teach her that? Asuma asked his girlfriend. The power of that jutsu left the Sarutobi completely stunned. I can tell you I have nothing to do with that. That must be something she learned from her family, Kurenai replied, just as astonished. I don't think so, that doesn't look like the traditional Hyuga jutsu at all. It has to be something she came up on her own, Asuma countered. Albeit it looked like something she improvised in the spur of the moment than an actual jutsu. I'll have to ask Hinata about it. Then again, I don't mind the means, Hinata won her fight. And I believe her improvisation may land her a promotion. Mother, What was that? An incredulous Hanabi asked. I'm as perplexed as you are, honey, Hikari replied. It's as if Hinata tried to combine the heavenly spin with lightning chakra. Whatever it was amazing, Hanabi gushed. When the exams ends, Hinata-ne-chan has to teach me that jutsu. It was impressive, indeed, although it looked out of control, Hisashi observed. I believe Hinata-sama tried to use lightning chakra in order to reach the necessary speed to perform the heavenly spin. However, she didn't take into account how the elemental chakra would affect the jutsu as a whole. Hence such chaotic results, Neji wondered aloud. You might not be a prodigy like me, Hinata-sama, but you're surely resourceful. Wow, Hinata, that was amazing. Naruto cheered upon seeing his teammate back. Thank you. The Hyuga weakly replied. Truth be told, I didn't like the idea of fighting you, but after seeing that, boy, I can't wait until the first round is over so we can fight each other. It will be epic. I'm glad you look forward it, Naruto-kun, but I don't think I will be able to give you much of a fight. I'm almost completely out of chakra, an exhausted Hinata told him. Oh, that has an easy solution. Naruto then grabbed his hand, and Hinata soon noticed her chakra reserves being replenished. Naruto-kun, you're giving me your chakra? Hinata asked in disbelief. But. No buts. Naruto interrupted her. Listen, you healed me before, and besides, I want to fight you at your full power. Don't worry about my chakra, I have plenty to spare. I don't think I ever suffered from chakra exhaustion in my life. If you say so. Hinata conceded as she felt Naruto's chakra being pumped into her system, and she started to heal her many scratches and wounds Tamaki had left on her. Naruto, Gaara's voice said, startling both the blonde and the Hyuga again, since neither of them heard him coming. My match is about to begin. I hope that this time, you can get a better appreciation of my skills. Yeah, sure. I won't take my eyes from the fight. Naruto told his fellow Jinchuriki. Good luck out there. It's not him the one who needs luck, Tenten, who had heard the conversation, thought. Let's hope Guy-sensei's training was enough to defeat that Sand guy. Oh, Tenten. Naruto called her. Yes? Haku isn't here, but if he was, he'd wish you good luck, Naruto said as he gave her a thumbs up, and winked at her in a very unsubtle way. If you know what I mean. Tenten looked at him puzzled, and tilted her head as if saying no, I don't know what you mean, but she merely thanked him, and followed Gaara into the arena. Naruto-kun, that was really sweet, Hinata praised. Naruto widely smiled. Thanks. Hinata then grew serious. But please, don't do it again, ever. It was painful to watch. Huh? Well, Kazokage, your son is about to fight, Jiraiya mentioned. I heard that he's quite powerful, somebody befitting his status. Indeed. He may not bring shame to our village like his sister did, Raza coldly stated, his eyes fixed on the redhead. What is this status you talk about, Hokage? The Raikage asked with mild interest. The son of the Kazekage, of course, Raza replied. Given that you're the son of a Kage yourself, Raikage, I'm sure you can see my point of view. Gaara and Tenten went in front of each other. Tenten was uneasy, and seemed to nervously shift on the spot. Gaara was calm to the point of looking bored, his arms crossed. Upon checking that both combatants were ready, Hyuga proceeded to start the match. The fifth match of the Chunin exam finals between Tenten, from Konoha, and Gaara, from Suna. The purple-haired woman raised her hand in the air. Begin. The moment Hyuga's last word left her lips, a huge amount of sand started to pour from Gaara's gourd. Tenten yelped and jumped backwards a few times in order to put some distance. Gaara made no attempt at closing the gap. Okay, let's see how that strong that sand of yours really is, Tenten stated as she pulled out a medium-sized storage scroll, and leapt mid-air while she opened it. Manipulated tools, Steel Storm. A rain of kunai and shuriken fell upon Gaara, but the sand formed a barrier that protected him from any harm. Gaara made a couple of hand seals. Wind Release, Sand Shuriken. The wall of sand shot several razor-sharp projectiles that, despite their speed, Tenten managed to swiftly dodge. However, one of them managed to graze her left leg, leaving a superficial gash, making her wince. I better step up my game, Tenten thought as she pulled out yet another sealing scroll, from which she pulled a simple metal staff. She twirled the staff a few times, before adopting a battle pose. Gaara took it as a hint to attack. Motioning his arm forward, Gaara commanded the sand to attack. Sand Barrage. A torrent of sand flowed at great speed at Tenten. Keeping her cool, the Konoha Kunoichi stepped aside to avoid it, and dashed at Gaara at a fast pace. When she was in melee range, she was about to smack him with her metal staff when another wall of sand automatically appeared between her and the redhead. I already got you, Gaara thought as he prepared a counterattack. However, when Tenten was centimeters away from hitting the wall of sand and have her weapon stuck on it, she stopped, and much to Gaara's puzzlement, she vanished before him. Huh? Gaara dumbly asked. The reply came in the form of a painful hit to the back of the head that sent him falling into the ground. Fortunately, the sand formed a cushion on the spot he was about to fall, making it a bit less painful. When Gaara was standing up, Tenten suddenly appeared before him and kicked him in the ribs, hard. Before the sand had the chance to repel the Odango-haired threat, Tenten appeared behind him again and smacked him in the legs. Seeing no other option to keep Tenten away, Gaara formed a tornado of sand around himself. Tenten was forced to jump out of the tornado's area of effect if she didn't want to get shredded by the sand. In the cage box, Raza was speechless. That girl, he babbled. How can that normal girl be beating Gaara like that? Our Genin are full of surprises, don't you think so? Jiraiya replied with a complacent smile. Neji was just as speechless as Gaara's father. When did Tenten become this fast? He pondered. In another section of the stands, Tenten's sensei and second teammate were watching the fight with utmost interest. Yosh! Tenten's training is finally paying off, Lee exclaimed. Indeed. We did a great job fanning her flames of youth, don't you think so? Guy asked. Now Tenten is so fast that the sand can't keep up with her. And the best part it's that she didn't use her ace in the hole yet. Yes. It has to believe that such amazing speed was nothing but a positive side effect of the real training she underwent. Tenten assessed the situation. It didn't appear that the sand tornado would slow down any time soon. She'd need to find a way to break that defense. She pulled out another scroll and jumped. Manipulated tools, rain of fire. A storm of kunai rained upon Gaara, which were all stopped by the sand. However, these kunai all had explosive tags attached to them. The Konoha Kunoichi made a hand seal, detonating all of them at once. Multiple explosions rocked the stadium. When the dust cleared off, part of Gaara's sand had been turned into glass, but he still had plenty to spare. The tornado had disappeared, being replaced by a dome of sand with presumably Gaara inside of it. A few grains of sand detached from the dome, and formed an eye that floated above it. Huh? Is that an actual eye? I guess that he uses it to see while inside that dome, Tenten deduced. Anyway, I better try to break that shell. Discarding her metal staff, Tenten pulled out that same weapon storage scroll and unsealed a couple long swords. She then rushed at Gaara, and tried to slash at the sand dome. However, when she was at fighting distance, a giant arm of sand emerged from the dome, and tried to grab her. Tenten was able to stop in time and jump backwards, but the arm followed her. Each of the hand's finger took the shape of a serpentine dragon and tried to bite her, but once again the weapon mistress managed to avoid them. When she fell back enough distance, the dragons returned to the dome and disappeared. So, that's your strategy, To fight defensively and wait for me to get tired trying to breach your unbreakable defense, Tenten thought as she stabbed both long swords into the ground. Okay, let's see what you do when your defense fails. The Odango-haired Kunoichi crossed her arms in front of her face, and started to channel her chakra. Her body started to glow with a faint green light, as small pieces of dirt started to float in mid-air. She then spread her arms outwards, and her body burst with chakra in such a sudden and potent way that even non-sensors were able to feel it. Gate of opening, open. What? Neji exclaimed out loud. Guy-sensei taught her how to open the celestial gates? I never thought he'd do such a thing, but then again, I don't think there's nothing else she could have done if she wanted to beat Gaara. Both Guy and Rock Lee were trembling with excitement upon seeing Tenten opening the first gate. Technically speaking, opening the gates is a very easy process, and once you know how to open one, you can open all 8 of them. The problem, though, is handling the backlash of the gates. The first time Tenten opened a gate, despite the immense rush of power, it afflicted her body so much afterwards that she needed a whole day just to recover her mobility. So, besides her usual training in marksmanship and armed melee combat, Tenten joined Guy and Lee on their morning workouts in order to train her body to be more durable, stronger and faster, qualities she also needed to defeat her opponent. Thanks to the intensive training, Tenten's body was good enough to at least withstand the backlash of the first gate. Although, when Guy offered to teach her the front lotus, Tenten declined, claiming that she had another idea in mind of how to use her newfound power. Okay, Gaara, let's see how your defense can withstand this, Tenten said as she unsealed a single kunai from a storage scroll. Upon grabbing it, the kunai started to glow with a blue aura. Ha! Tenten tossed the kunai at the sand dome with such force and speed, that it tore both an entry and an exit hole on it, briefly revealing a stunned Gaara inside before the hole slowly closed, before they crashed against the ground, making a small explosion. She pierced my sand dome? How? The puzzled Jinchuriki wondered. Tenten smiled wickedly as she pulled out 8 more kunai, holding 4 on each hand. After infusing them with chakra, she tossed 4 of them at the same time, and as it happened before, they pierced the sand dome as if it was wet paper. This is bad. If she can bypass my defense, I can't stand still. Gaara thought as he undid the sand dome and started to run. Tenten laughed at the running redhead. You can run, but you can't hide from me and my flames of youth. The Odango-haired girl claimed, and upon noticing what she said, shuddered in disgust. Ew. Why did I say that? Tenten continued to pelt Gaara with her chakra-enhanced weapons. The Suna Jinchuriki could only try to dodge the steel projectiles, or try to deflect them with his sand. I can't let her force me to fight defensively, I need to attack too. Gaara thought as he made several hand seals. Monstrous sand arm. Gaara's sand formed a huge arm ended in a clawed hand that shot at Tenten, and tried to grab her. The kunoichi proved to be too fast for Gaara's sand, and vanished before his very eyes. Feeling a hunch, Gaara repeated the action, except he aimed the arm backwards. The attack failed once again, but the sound of a female voice yelping followed by brief air current made him realize that his hunch was right. Damn it, he realized that I would attack him from behind. I better not be so predictable. Tenten thought. She's too fast. I need to stop or at least slow her down, Gaara thought as he started to send sand underground. She likes to jump a lot, but sooner or later she'll fall in my trap. Tenten continued pelting Gaara with her enhanced weapons, which Gaara barely avoided by moving as fast as his non-athletic body allowed him to, and using sand to slow and divert the attacks. Both combatants started to notice that Tenten's pace was starting to slow down, and her green aura looked more dim. Oh no! The power boost of the first gate is fading already? She thought in horror as her energy started to slowly being replaced by exhaustion. She's slowing down, now's my chance. Gaara thought as he made a hand motion. Sand coffin. Sand burst from under the spot Tenten just landed on. She tried to jump, but she wasn't fast enough, and several sand tendrils wrapped around her legs, stopping her from moving. More sand started to wrap around her body until it formed a cocoon that left only her head exposed. And so it ends, Gaara declared, as he walked towards her. Now please surrender. I have no wish of inflicting you more harm than the already done. Damn it, he got me good. What the hell am I supposed to do? Tenten's brain raced through the possibilities, until she came up with a solution, albeit one that she didn't like one bit. I haven't mastered it yet, but I can't give up so soon. Well? Gaara was waiting. I don't think I can surrender just now, Tenten replied, as the green aura surrounding her started to once again glow with more intensity. Gate of healing, open. The burst of chakra was so potent that it completely blew the sand coffin apart. Taking advantage of Gaara's shock, Tenten managed to close the distance gap in less than a second and kick him in the face before his sand protection had any time to react, sending him flying backwards. Rather than follow on the attack, though, Tenten went to retrieve the 2 long swords that she discarded earlier, and dashed towards Gaara, leaving a green glowing trail behind. I haven't mastered this technique yet, but if it worked for Hinata earlier, I don't think why it couldn't work for me, Tenten thought before leaping mid-air. This is bad. Sand armor, now. Gaara thought as sand started to form a skin-tight protection around him. As she fell, Tenten spread her arms and started to spin. Raging blade storm. Tenten turned into a tornado of razor-sharp death that rushed towards Gaara. Using the sand as a spring, he jumped out of Tenten's way, who stopped spinning upon missing. However, much to Gaara's frustration, she attacked again. Raging blade storm. Not this time, Gaara replied, still keeping his cool while he went through hand seals as fast as he could. Wind release, roar of the desert. Gaara sent a barrage of sand at her, but Tenten was spinning at such speed that she somehow managed to cut the sand stream in two, which was unable to even stop her down. Gaara tried to jump aside, but he was unable to avoid multiple cuts on his body that, thankfully, were absorbed by the sand armor, which started to crack. I see I have to crack that armor if I want to do any damage, Tenten thought as she prepared to attack again. Here she comes. Gaara thought as he prepared his counterattack. However, Rather than using the same attack for the third time, Tenten vanished before his eyes, and appeared a second later in front of him, centimeters from his face. Before Gaara or his sand had any time to react, Tenten kicked him in the jaw, which sent him flying upwards. But it didn't stop there, as Tenten managed to jump into the spot Gaara was kicked to, and smacked him again, sending him flying into different directions, his armor cracking with each hit. With the last hit, that sent Gaara back into the ground, the armor was completely broken. I'm running out of energy, I need to finish this now. Tenten thought before raising both swords above her head. Reverse Raging Blade Storm. This time, Tenten spun vertically, turning herself not in a tornado but more like a human buzzsaw, flying down at Gaara. Gaara, upon seeing Tenten coming down, knew that there was only one thing he could do. Ultimately hard absolute defense, Shield of Shukaku. Between Gaara and Tenten appeared a toy-like replica of the one-tailed beast, wearing a wide-brimmed rural hat, that was roughly thrice the size of Gaara. Upon impact, Tenten started to cut through it. Impossible. Nobody is able to bypass my ultimate defense. A concerned Gaara shouted aloud. Unfortunately for Tenten, her spinning speed started to slow down, until she was forced to cancel the attack, and jump backwards to put some distance. Damn, I ran out of energy before I could finish this, Tenten thought in frustration. Every bit of my body hurts, I could win this if I opened another gate, but then the backlash would be so bad it could end my ninja career forever, guess I'll have to try in 6 months. Tenten dropped her long swords, which felt like they weighed a ton each, and raised her hand. Proctor, I wish to forfeit, Tenten said between pants. Are you sure? Hyuga asked. The weapon mistress nodded. I don't have any more energy left. If I keep pushing my body further, I'm afraid I may not make it. I can always try next time. Good choice, girl, Hyuga replied with a smile. Tenten forfeits the match. Winner of the 5th match, Gaara. The purple-haired woman declared. There will be a recess of 10 minutes before the next match begins. Tenten sighed and dropped on her knees. Can you call the medics, Hyuga-san? The proctor nodded, and made a hand signal, prompting 2 medic nin to enter the arena. But before they could take her away, Gaara walked to her, as he recalled his sand back into the gourd. You proved to be much stronger than I had initially thought. I wasn't expecting a worthy adversary until the later rounds, but you proved me wrong. Even in defeat, you should feel proud of yourself, Gaara told her. Thank you, Tenten said between pants. Maybe one day, you can, give me a rematch? You can be sure of it, was the last thing Gaara said before Tenten was carried away to the infirmary, and Gaara himself returned to the competitor's box. Jiraiya, I'm going to admit it, Raza began, still refusing to address the Hokage by his title. That girl gave Gaara quite a fight. But she was destined to lose even before the match started. You seem to have quite a lot of hope in your kid, haven't you? Jiraiya replied. Tenten proved to be exceptional, yet she isn't even among the strongest Konoha Genin in the competition. Others such as Naruto or Sasuke might be able to defeat him. I find it unlikely. There's no Genin who can defeat Gaara, Raza replied as he dismissed the idea with a hand wave. No matter who he fights against, he will rise victorious. We'll see about that, Kazekage. We'll see. In the end, Tenten lost. What a pity, I was sure she was about to win, a deflated Lee said. She had the bad luck of having to fight against an extremely resilient opponent. If we only had a bit more time to master the gates. Guy wondered aloud in resignation. Still, that blade storm was really impressive, Lee observed. She knew how to take advantage of the gate's power boost, and apply it to her area of expertise. Yes, even if she lost, she gave it everything, Guy agreed. Who knows, maybe she impressed the examiners enough to promote her. So, how I was out there, Naruto? Gaara asked upon returning to the waiting area. Simply amazing. Naruto praised. Now I can't wait to fight you, and see how well my jutsu will do against yours. Maybe we can use that as an extra motivation to win our following matches, Gaara replied. Though even if I do not wish to demean or underestimate our potential rivals, I'm sure I can defeat almost everybody here until our paths inevitably cross. You're pretty strong, so I wouldn't say it's a crazy idea, Naruto admitted. But I'm pretty strong too. You don't have to tell me. I see you made a number on my sister, Gaara reminded him, which caused Naruto to laugh very awkwardly. So, this will be the last match of the first round, Shisui commented. Yes. Now it's Karin's turn to fight against the Jinchuriki from Taki, Shizune mentioned. First Sakura and now her. Why did all my Genin end up fighting against a Jinchuriki? That's not fair. Sasuke didn't fight against one, Shisui reminded her. Anyway, I saw how strong Karin grew during this month. I'm sure she'll do fine. Thanks for the assurance, but I doubt her opponent spent this month slacking off. At the very least, Karin seemed confident that she could win, Sakura piped in. Alright, Fu is finally going to fight, Shibuki stated, eager to see her in action. I wish her fight was a bit sooner. You must feel really proud of her, don't you, Shibuki? Raza asked. After all, a minor ninja village being able to compete against the great villages, you must feel like a kid that's allowed to hang out with the grown-ups, aren't you? With all due respect, Kazekage Dono, Takigakura might not be a great village, but that's no reason to underestimate us, Shibuki firmly replied. If Raza thought that he could use his status as a cage to bully him, he had another thing coming. I agree with Shibuki. Let's see his Jinan fight first before casting a judgment, the Raikage intervened. Raza frowned, while Shibuki looked at A in disbelief, surprised that the scary-looking man would come to his defense, something Jiraiya found mildly amusing. Thank you, Raikage Dono, Shibuki stuttered. Alright, it's my time to fight. Fu excitedly claimed. Why am I always one of the last to fight? It's as if everybody forgets about me or something. Naruto chuckled. You know, people also tend to forget about Shino as well, being so silent and all that. Another thing you have in common? Har har, Fu sarcastically laughed. Oh, and by the way, thanks a lot for telling me about Ikaraku. I didn't know you could eat so good. Albeit my teammates were rather mad at the bill I ended up racking. I know, right? That's the best place to eat in the world. Naruto proudly agreed. And the manager and his daughter were super nice to me, Fu continued, just as excited. And were very sad that I wasn't going to stay in Konoha. Then he said something about wanting to move to a bigger house, which frankly I don't know what it had to do with anything. Anyway, I better not start rambling, my match is now, wish me luck. Hey! Fu's rival, Karin, protested, as she walked towards the Jinchuriki duo. It's me whom Naruto should wish luck. Oh. Why, exactly? Fu asked, as she scratched her head. Because we're from the same clan, the Uzumaki. Karin told her. Really? That's so cool. Fu replied, cheerful as ever. If you're family of Naruto, then I need to know you better. Say, how about if we go to eat something after the exam is over? Though you will have to pay, since I already blew up all our money on ramen. You blew all your money on ramen? Karin asked in incredulity. It's that I couldn't decide what kind of ramen I wanted to order, so I order one of each to see which one I would like the most, and I ended up liking all of them so much that I ended up ordering one of each ramen again. Too bad neither me nor my teammates have enough money anymore, though maybe I can ask Shibuki for more money since he's here? Once again, Fu lost herself in her thoughts. I think I'm going to the arena, Karin stated as she left, not wanting to be caught by Fu's inherent weirdness. Fu, I think you should go too, Naruto told her. Huh? Why? The green-haired girl asked. Oh, right, the match. Karin-chan, wait for me. And Fu rushed into the arena after Karin. Unlike the other Chunin hopefuls, Karin and Fu didn't get into position to fight each other. In Fu's case, she flew around the stadium, scanning the stands, until she found the people she was looking for, Kakashi's animal squad. She smiled and flew down at them. Hey guys. Fu chimed in. I'm so happy to see you here. Hope you cheer for me even if my opponent is a Konoha ninja. Given that Karin is the reason for me being already out, let's say that I wasn't planning on cheering her, Kiba replied. Sure, Fu, you will have our support for your match, Shino agreed. Although I wouldn't count on Shino cheering you on very loudly, Kiba said before chuckling. Ha, yeah, that wouldn't be him. But knowing that he's rooting for me is enough, Fu replied. Fu, I don't want to be rude, but shouldn't you go back to the arena? Kakashi pointed out. You may get disqualified for fooling around. You can always talk once the exams are over. Oh, right. I better get going, Fu said before flying back into the arena. Wings. Kakashi thought, his interest mildly stirred. Are they the product of a bloodline limit, or something else? While Fu had a brief talk with Team Kakashi, Karin was also looking for somebody else, 2 people to be precise. Thanks to her sensor ability, she was able to find said people in no time. The first was her mother, whom she waved at despite sitting in one of the middle rows. But lucky for her, the other one was sitting in one of the first row seats. Hey, Neji-kun, Karin shouted as she waved at him. Wish me luck. In normal circumstances, Neji would have merely nodded at her, but at that distance Karin wouldn't notice such a subtle gesture, so he was forced to wave back at her to acknowledge her. This display didn't go unnoticed to his immediate family. "That girl seems to be very familiar with you, Neji," Hisashi observed. "Who is she?" "A teammate of Sasuke Uchiha," Neji replied. "After Sasuke beat me near death, Karin healed me back. If it wasn't for her intervention, my recovery wouldn't have been so quick." "I see," Hisashi said. "And that's it?" Hikari asked, a bit confused. She felt there was something more to the red-headed girl. "No. A few weeks ago I treated her to lunch as way to thank her for her kind action," Neji explained. "She liked my company, so she requested for us to eat together some more. I must admit, I do enjoy her company as well." "So you're dating her," Hikari concluded. "Oh, Ni-san has a girlfriend," Hanabi stated in a teasing tone. "No, Hikari-sama. Why do you say that?" Neji asked. The Hyuga matriarch barely resisted the urge of both slap her forehead, and slap Neji quite a few times. The worst part was that Neji seemed to be awfully oblivious about it. For a so-called genius, he could be unbelievably dense. "Neji-kun, when we're back home, you and I are going to have a serious talk," Hikari stated in a firm, almost reprimanding tone. "I don't understand, Hikari-sama. Did I do something wrong? Do you not approve of me spending time with that girl?" Neji asked in confusion. "Actually, it's the complete opposite." Hikari's answer left Neji even more baffled. After a delayed start, Karin and Fu were in front of each other, ready to prove which one of the two was more deserving of being a Chunin. Hyuga wasted no time to start the match. The sixth match of the Chunin exam finals, and final match of the first round, between Karin Uzumaki, from Konoha, and Fu, from Taki. The Onbu raised her hand in the air. "Begin." Karin wasted no time and opened the fight with her blonde relative's signature jutsu. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Unlike Naruto, Karin's limit was still 4 clones. Not even the month of training was enough to push beyond that limit. "Scatter." The original redhead ordered her clones, which did as she said, and surrounded Fu in a circle. "Did you forget that I can fly?" Fu said as her wings sprout from her back and started to fly. Surrounding a flying target is useless. "Oh, I was expecting that," Karin replied with a wicked chuckle. "Everybody, now. Adamantine sealing chain." Karin and her clones cast one hand upwards, and shot a chakra chain from the palm of their hand. During her training, Karin was able to learn how to cast her chakra chains from her hands instead of her back. While the hand only has enough surface for one chain, it was much easier to direct and control as a result. Never mind that it used less chakra, and it was easier for a clone to do it. "Oh shit." Fu cursed after narrowly dodging a chain. "Oh shit." Fu cursed louder when another chain almost touched her. "Oh shit." She cursed the loudest when a chain wrapped around her legs. Karin and the clones who failed to catch her quickly dispelled their chains and rushed towards the clone who succeeded. And between the 5 of them using chakra-enhanced strength, they forced Fu back into the ground. "Oh Shii 5555, Fu yelled as she was jerked down, before being slammed back into the ground with such force that it made a crater on impact. "Ha, yes. Good work, girls." Karin congratulated as she high-fived her clones. However, much to their shock, Fu emerged from the crater with nothing but a few bruises. She appeared to be a bit dizzy by the way she moved. Wow, that was, be brutal." Fu slurred. She shook her head in an effort to return her mind back to normal. "So, shall we continue?" Fu's nonchalant attitude only made Karin even madder. She gritted her teeth, and angrily pointed at her. "Everybody, get her." The clones nodded, pulled out a pair of kunai each, and charged at the green-haired girl. Fu also pulled a kunai, and charged at the clones as well. When she met them, she started to expertly hack them down as she parried their blows. In less than 10 seconds, the clones were no more. "That was fun, but how about this?" Fu stated as she put back the kunai on her tool pouch and started to make hand seals. "Wind release, savage whirlwind." Fu created a whirlwind of dust that flied at Karin. The redhead replied with an elemental jutsu of her own. "Earth release, earth-style wall." Upon finishing the hand seal, Karin slammed both hands down, erecting a wall of earth that managed to stop Fu's wind attack. However, much to her shock, the Taki Kunoichi broke through the wall as if it was never there, and charged at Karin. She could have easily flown over it. "She did that to try to intimidate me. This girl isn't as stupid as she looks," Karin thought as she braced for the impact. Damn it, how could I forget that I could fly over the wall? I broke a nail punching it down. Fu absent-mindedly thought as she charged. That kunoichi of your village is pretty strong, Shibuki-san, Jiraiya told Shibuki. The young Taki leader smiled. Thank you, she's indeed a very special girl. Jiraiya nodded, and then leaned towards Shibuki. Nobody would ever guess that she got so far thanks to the help of 2 jonin, right? Jiraiya whispered on Shibuki's ear, low enough so neither Razanate would pick up what he was saying. Upon hearing those words, Shibuki's face lost all trace of color. Hokage dono, I'm sure that. Jiraiya shot a fake reassuring smile at the panicky Shibuki. Relax, Shibuki-san. Enjoy the fight. We will talk about this once the exam is over, Jiraiya told him, then he frowned, adding an unsaid because we will talk about this. When she was in close quarter distance, Fu threw a punch at Karin, which the redhead managed to catch. She later tried to do the same with her other hand, but the result was the same. Upon seeing that Fu was unable to shake her hold, Karin smirked, and started to spin Fu in circles before tossing her high into the air. Unfortunately for Karin, Fu spread her wings while mid-air, and dived straight at Karin. Oh shit, Karin blurted before jumping aside. The redhead barely avoided the green-haired meteor that crashed against the ground. Still, the resulting shockwave was enough to make Karin fall on her butt. Like before, Fu emerged from the crater as if she barely registered the hit. Seriously, what the hell do they feed you? Karin asked in frustration. It can't be because she's a Jinchuriki. Naruto is also one and he isn't invulnerable. I ate a lot of ramen this week, but I believe we already had a similar conversation, Fu replied, before letting out a loud belch. Sorry, I think the spicy beef ramen didn't agree with my stomach. Guess I'm going to need some more firepower then. Karin angrily stated as she pulled out a kunai with an explosive tag attached to it and tossed it at Fu's feet. Fu yelped, and jumped backwards, barely avoiding the explosion. Karin tossed 3 more explosive kunai, and seeing that she would be unable to put enough distance while on land, Fu once again spread her wings and took off. Oh no, you don't, Karin said as she made a hand seal. Adamantine sealing chains. This time, Karin shot several times from her back. Fu managed to dodge some, but 2 of them wrapped around her legs. With her opponent trapped once more, Karin grabbed the chains and pumping as much chakra as she could into her arms, she began to pull down. However, Fu wasn't going to allow being slammed into ground a second time, and she began to pull in the opposite direction. The girls engaged in a game of tug-of-war for a couple minutes, with none of them gaining the upper hand. Until an idea popped on Fu's chaotic mind, and not only stopped pulling, but she flew down at Karin. Karin at first grinned in victory upon being able to pull Fu down, but her grin was short-lived when she realized that the Taki Jinchuriki was flying at her at an unbelievable speed, her fist forward. The poor redhead was unable to avoid the brutal impact, which made a thundering noise, and raised a dust of cloud. When the cloud dispelled, everybody could see Fu sitting on Karin's stomach. The Uzumaki girl didn't move, and her forehead was bleeding. Her glasses laid broken a few meters from her. Hyuga could still sense her chakra, which meant she was still alive, but clearly she wasn't going to continue fighting. Karin is in no condition to fight. Winner of the 6th match, Fu. The purple-haired woman declared. There will be a recess of 15 minutes before the next round begins. Fu, being the 3rd foreign ninja defeating a local one, and the 2nd in a row, didn't sit well with the public, who filled the air with their boos and profanities. However, like Gaara, and unlike Karu, Fu paid them no heed and much to everybody's shock, Fu broke into a happy dance. Naturally, everybody took this as a sign of mockery, and boos grew louder. But this didn't deter Fu, who continued dancing as if no one was watching her. The boos eventually died down, but Fu made no sign of stopping her dance. Hyuga walked to her, and placed a hand on her shoulder. Fu, you need to. The purple-haired woman was interrupted by Fu grabbing both her hands and forcing her to dance as well. Hyuga, however, forcefully made Fu stop. Enough of this. If you don't return to the waiting area this instant, you will be disqualified, you got that? Okay. Sheesh. Fu grumbled as she walked away. I didn't know Konoha had laws against dancing. I guess it was much to ask for both of my Jinan to win their matches, Shizune sadly stated, before letting out a long sigh. Hey, Karin fought really well. She might still be a Chunin, Suan reassured her. Well, at least one of the medics did make it to the final round, even if it wasn't one of your pupils. Yes, I'm happy for Hinata, but I doubt she'll go much farther given that she's going to fight against Naruto-kun, Shizune pointed out. Do you think Naruto-ni-san will be able to fight Hinata? Hagane asked. Nah, Naruto's super crazy for her. He'll probably hold back, Kaida replied. What about Hinata? Will she hold back too? Hagane asked. Kaida pondered for a few seconds before answering. Maybe? I mean, I don't see Hinata going all out against our brother. Then it's going to be one boring match, Hagane replied. Infirmary, shortly before the second round begins. Tenten opened her eyes. Where was she? The last thing she remembered was that she was fighting Gaara. As her memory slowly returned, she remembered that she had forfeited due her sheer exhaustion. And now she was lying down on a bed, her body full of bandages. Being unable to recognize her surroundings, she tried to sit up, but her body was hit by a wave of pain when she tried to move. Ugh! She moaned. Easy there. I don't know what you did, but you looked pretty beaten up when they brought you here, a voice said beside her. Tenten turned her head left, and saw Team Kurenai's only Jinnan who didn't win his first round match, Haku. Looking around, she also saw other beaten participants lying on beds, such as Choji, Temari, and Tamaki. It was hard to tell if they were asleep or not. Haku? How long have I been here? She asked. About 20 minutes. The stadium has trembled a couple times, I guess that's what woke you up. Pity, it looked like you needed the nap, Haku told her. So, how was it? Tenten let out a long sigh. I was this close to winning. I risked my body in a way you couldn't imagine, and in the end it was for nothing. That Gaara was nearly impossible to beat. I know what you feel. Fighting Sasuke-san wasn't exactly a walk in the park, Haku emphatically said. Funny thing is, have I been the one to fight against Gaara? I might have won since I'm a water release user. I'm lightning, but I haven't worked on elemental ninjutsu much, Tenten admitted. There was a moment of silence that was interrupted by another thundering noise, maybe caused by the kunoichi fighting now. Hey, Tenten-chan? Haku asked. Yes? She replied, turning her face at him again. There was something I wanted to tell you. Haku began. He swallowed, and tried to keep hold of his nerves. I planned to wait until the finals were over, but given that both of us are out already, I don't see any reason to wait anymore. Tenten titled her head quizzically. And that would be? Well. Haku began, and swallowed again. I know that we don't know each other much, but you're smart, confident, strong, not to mention pretty girl, and, I really like you. So, would you like to go out with me sometime? What? You like me? Tenten dumbly replied as the ice ninja's words started to sink. You like me? Oh my. This was something completely new for her. Despite being 14 years old, she had decided to focus on her ninja career first, and never showed any interest in any boy, and much to her chagrin, made her realize that until now no boy ever showed interest in her. I'm sorry if I'm being too forward or blunt, but I don't feel like keeping it to myself anymore, Haku said in an apologetic tone. No, it's okay. Oh boy, now I understand why Naruto told me that. What did Naruto tell you? Haku asked, mildly concerned. It doesn't matter now, Tenten replied. As for you, well, you kinda caught me by surprise with that confession, Tenten laughed awkwardly. And I don't think I should give you an answer now without thinking about it first. This was kind of unexpected. Just give me a couple days to make up my mind, okay? Yeah, sure, I can wait. This doesn't mean I'm going to say no. Or yes. I mean, I don't want to give you false hopes. It's just, well, very unexpected. I don't want to give you false hopes. I know. You just said that, Haku smiled at her. Don't get so flustered. Take all the time you need. Why yeah. I better try to get some sleep. That would be good. But I don't think I'll be able to sleep anytime soon after you drop that bomb on me. Chapter 29. Fight to become a Chunin, Part 3. Or Swordsman, Lovers and Jinchuriki. After the first round, people were already eager to see the second. All winners have proved to be exceptionally powerful, so the public was eagerly expecting to see even more epic fights. While the public spent the intermission buying snacks, going to the bathroom, or betting money on which Jinnan would win which match, the Jinnan themselves were trying to relax and mentally prepare for the next round. Despite the fact that most of them were tired and had even more challenging opponents this time around, their mood was much better than before. Winning their matches made them think that it would make them worthy of promotion, forgetting their respective sensei's words about Jinnan who won their matches, sometimes more than just one, but failed to get promoted, while Jinnan who lost impressed the examiners enough to recommend a promotion. So, It seems that we're about to fight now. Karu's voice snapped Sasuke from his thoughts. I'm glad to see that I'll have the chance to fight a fellow swordsman, she said as she eyed the sheathed katana on his back. Kumagakure has the best swordsmen in the elemental nations, and as an aspiring one, it is important to me to be able to show my skill with the sword in front of Raikage-sama. I thought that the best swordsman came from Kirigakure, Sasuke pointed out. Those punks? Please, Karu scoffed. They might have fancy swords with nifty abilities, but take their swords away, and what do you have? She slowly unsheathed her own katana. Sasuke could see that, besides being a very well-crafted weapon, there was nothing that set it apart from any other sword. A sword is just as good as the person who wields it. While I agree with that, I wouldn't dismiss the 7 swordsmen so easily, Sasuke replied. I had the chance of seeing one in action more than once, and his skill isn't an exaggeration. If you say so, Karu shrugged. But if the 7 swordsmen were so hot, a generation of them wouldn't have gone down so easily against a single Genin. That caught Sasuke's attention. Come again? You can't be serious. I am. In fact, I'm surprised that you didn't know about such feat, given that it was a Konoha Genin, Karu pointed out. Seriously, I was expecting to see a statue of the guy or something when I came here. Sasuke was left utterly baffled. How is that he never heard of that ninja if he did such an impressive feat? As he saw Karu walking alongside his opponent into the arena, the Raikage couldn't help but sport a smirk of superiority. Ah, yes, now this is a worthy adversary for Karu, stated. Despite their dive and reputation, he was aware of how well known the power of the Uchiha was. When Karu publicly defeats the Uchiha in front of such a large audience, Kumo's might and superiority will be more than proved. That girl is talented, everybody can see that, Jiraiya began. But so is Sasuke. And not just because of his clan, that kid has a lot of talent and drive to prove himself. Speaking of which, it surprises me that you still keep the remnant of that rebellious clan still around, Hokage, the Raikage noted as he glanced at Itachi. If anybody on Kumo, be a single ninja, a clan, or a whole faction, rebelled against the village's legitimate government, I would have crushed them without mercy. With all due respect, Raikage Dono, not all the Uchiha are disloyal to Konoha, Itachi interjected, even if he knew he shouldn't speak up. So I don't think why should those who remained faithful to the village should share the same fate as those who betrayed it. Daru and C flinched. The Raikage glared at Itachi, as he released no small amount of killing intent. You better watch your mouth, brat. You might be in a place reserved for the cage, but it does not make you one. Don't even think for a second that it allows you to speak me as if I was your equal. Excuse my bodyguard, Raikage, Jiraiya intervened. You brought up a very sensitive topic, and even if his outburst was completely out of place, I can't help but side with him. I'm not going to punish a loyal ninja because of the sins of their kin. The Raikage grunted. Though given the kind of criminal rabble Konoha houses nowadays, the Uchiha aren't so out of place. The Raikage stated as he eyed Zabuza. Sasuke and Karu stood in front of each other. Hyuga made sure both combatants were ready to fight. The 7th match of the Chunin exam finals, between Sasuke Uchiha, from Konoha, and Karu, from Kumo. The purple-haired woman raised her hand in the air. Begin. Sasuke's Sharingan flared to life. Both Genin unsheathed their respective katanas, and lunged at each other, firmly holding their weapons. Sharp noises of metal clashing filled the air of the stadium. They spent quite some time trading blows, pushing back and forth in a sword duel, without resorting to ninjutsu, genjutsu, or using any other kind of weapons. After a few minutes of sword fighting in which none of them managed to gain the upper hand, they paused their duel to regain some breath. You're pretty good handling a sword. Your previous boasts weren't unjustified, Sasuke praised the foreign kunoichi. Karu smiled. Why, thank you. I've been training with a katana even before I became a Genin. Sword fighting runs through my veins. Sasuke shot her a condescending smirk. Funny thing, given that I started learning how to use a sword not a month ago, and were evenly matched. Her anger flaring inside of her, Karu gritted her teeth and charged Sasuke once more. This time, her blows were way more vicious and aggressive, however, they weren't any more sloppier as the youngest Uchiha had imagined. Karu's onslaught pushed Sasuke back as he struggled to parry his opponent's swings. That fancy eye of yours will be of little help against me, Karu shouted as she pressed the attack. Damn, that didn't work as intended. She knows how to keep her anger in check and keep herself focused, Sasuke thought as he broke the fight and jumped backwards. Let's try something different. How about that, Uchiha? Still think of yourself as my equal? An angry Karu asked as she pressed her attack. I must admit that wasn't half bad, Sasuke replied as he flew through hand seals. Now let's see if you can keep up with me after this. Fire release, burning edge. The blade of Sasuke's katana was suddenly wreathed in flames. He twirled his flaming sword a few times, and smirked. Do you think that impresses me? I can do that too. Karu protested as she went through different hand seals. Lightning release, thunder blade. Karu's katana started to crackle with electricity, sparks flying from its blade. No more words added, both sword fighters charged at each other, their elemental enhanced blades at hand. However, this fight was much shorter than the previous one. The moment the blades clashed, Karu's sword cut Sasuke's as if it was made of butter. Sasuke watched in shock, his blade being sliced in two. Karu's swing had still enough momentum to make a superficial cut on Sasuke's shoulder. Argh. The Uchiha yelled as he dropped his now useless weapon and clutched his damaged shoulder while he jumped backwards. The added electricity made most of it numb, yet it still hurt a lot. Aw, did that hurt? Ha ha ha. Karu cackled in triumph. Guess that the struggle to see which one of us is the best sword fighter is no more. I wouldn't be so sure. Sasuke then pulled out a small storage scroll, and unsealed a second katana. I can't believe you forced me to use my spare katana. Now Shisui is never going to live this down. Ha! And Sasuke said that brining a spare katana was unnecessary. The oldest Uchiha stated, enjoying the natural satisfaction of being proven right. I'm going to make sure he never hears the end of it. This time, Sasuke decided not to engage in melee combat, and pulled 4 shuriken from his ninja tool pouch, and tossed them at Karu with the skill the Uchiha were known for. Karu, however, looked undeterred. You don't learn, don't you? Karu said as she pulled shuriken of her own. Lightning release, shuriken lightning transmission. The Kumo Kunoichi's lightning-charged shuriken easily sliced Sasuke's just like it happened when their respective katanas clashed, and continued flying towards him. Sasuke made the hand seals of his clan's signature jutsu. Fire release, great fireball jutsu. Pouring a lot of chakra into the attack, Sasuke breathed a fireball large and powerful enough to stop the shuriken's momentum, heating them so much they started to melt. When the fire dispelled, he didn't saw Karu in front of him. His Sharingan managed to pick an out-of-place shadow, and looking up, he saw the Kumo Kunoichi leaping down at him, holding her lightning-infused blade above her head. Karu smirked as Sasuke raised his own sword to parry the incoming blow. Even if it was probably an unconscious reaction, the red-haired girl couldn't help but find funny the futility of such a gesture. I hope you brought more spare swords. Karu taunted as her blade clashed against Sasuke's. However, much to her surprise, this time she was unable to cut through her opponent's blade. What? This is what happens when you underestimate the Uchiha. Now it was Sasuke who smirked, and taking advantage of Karu's momentary lack of focus, he pushed her blade sideways and kicked her backwards. It was then when Karu noticed that the Uchiha's blade was also sparkling with electricity. An infuriating revelation dawned upon her. Wait a minute, the Thunder Blade, you copied it from me. An angered Karu shouted. Guilty as charged, Sasuke nonchalantly replied. I figured out that an electric-charged sword would be unable to cut through another one. And my theory was proven right. So that's how your clan made a name for yourselves, right? By stealing other people's power and using it against them. Karu angrily accused. We're ninja. We do everything necessary to win, Sasuke replied as he charged at her. Karu snarled in anger upon seeing that she had lost her main advantage over Sasuke in such underhanded way, but she was not going to lose. She was a strong, resourceful kunoichi, and had every intention to prove it. Okay then, let's see how your Sharingan does against this. Karu pulled out a couple of smoke bombs from her tool pouch and tossed them at an intermediate space between the two, creating a barrier of smoke. Sasuke stopped on his tracks, and decided that it was better to wait for Karu's next move. Lightning release, lightning transmission. Karu and a clone of her dashed at Sasuke, as they held a chain made of electricity on each hand. I did see your fight against Choji. Do you think I don't know both of them are clones that will zap me if I touch them? Sasuke said as he jumped backwards in the air while making several hand seals. Fire release, Phoenix Sage Fire Jutsu. A shower of fireballs rained upon the two Karuas, who due their speed and current state of keeping a complex jutsu active, were unable to dodge the barrage, and both of them disappeared in an electric flash. Sasuke smirked in satisfaction. Time to end this, Sasuke thought as he ran through hand seals. Fire release, Burning Man. Once again, the youngest Uchiha was covered from head to toe in a cloak of flames, and dashed it where he guessed Karu would be, leaving a trail of fire in his wake, and just like he foresaw, the Kumoku no Sihi was still behind the smoke wall, ready to throw some shuriken, which Sasuke had no problems dodging. The Konoha ninja sank his flaming fist into Karu's stomach before she had any time to do anything else, and exploded in an electric flash, zapping Sasuke. Arg! The youngest Uchiha shouted as he clutched his body, while his coat of flames disappeared. One of the shuriken Karu had tossed, now in the ground, exploded in a cloud of white smoke, revealing the real Karu, who started making hand seals. Didn't see that, Uchiha? Even if you will see this, you won't be able to stop it. Karu finished doing her hand seals and unsheathed her sword once again, which crackled with electricity. I'm done playing games. I wasn't planning on using this now, but I will have to do it. Karu's sword started to glow each second brighter. Sasuke tried to move, but the electric zap had numbed his body to a degree in which dodging was not an option. Not knowing what Karu had in store for him, Sasuke decided that it would be a good time to do the hand seals of his second strongest fire jutsu. Lightning release, Thunder Dragon Blast. Karu swung her sword forward, releasing a thick lightning bolt shaped like a dragon from it, which flew at Sasuke, letting out a metallic-sounding roar. Fortunately, Sasuke had already finished his hand seals as well. Fire release, Fire Dragon Stream. Sasuke exhaled a flame breath that also took the shape of a dragon. Both elemental dragons clashed, pushing back and forth, but none of them were able to gain the upper hand. Both Sasuke and Karu poured more chakra into their respective attacks, and by doing so, the struggle started to solve in Sasuke's favor. Karu started to panic. No. I can't lose here. I can't let both my village and Raikage-sama down. I need to win. This prompted the golden-eyed girl to channel even more chakra into the attack, pushing it backwards once again. Upon seeing her strategy working, she put even more chakra into the attack, believing she had already won. However, the power of both attacks became so big, it ended up destabilizing and creating a huge explosion. And combined with the fact that Karu was closer to the explosion than Sasuke, she had almost no chakra left to spare and her body was completely exhausted. This meant that her run on the Chunin exams had come to an end. The explosion's shockwave pushed Karu backwards, violently slamming her against the arena's wall, knocking her unconscious instantly. The blast also created an even bigger crater than those which were caused by previous fights. This didn't mean that Sasuke came out unscathed, but he was definitely in better shape than his opponent. Hyuga sensed that Karu still had some chakra in her, and quickly motioned for the medic nin to take her away. Seeing that the danger had already passed, Sasuke emerged from his hiding spot. Karu can't continue fighting. Winner of the 7th match, and first finalist, Sasuke Uchiha. The purple-haired woman declared. There will be a recess of 10 minutes before the next match begins. The image of a Konoha ninja defeating a foreign one which had already defeated another local made the crowd to erupt in a wave of applause and cheers for the member of the usually not that liked Uchiha clan. Still, Sasuke paid them no mind, and headed back to the waiting area before Hyuga had to tell him to. "Aw man, Karu lost," a dejected Amoe stated. "She's going to be so mad when she wakes up." "Well, I think she put up a good fight. Plus her opponent was pretty strong," T observed. "Now I get why do everybody mean by the power of the Uchiha. If this guy's just a Jinan, I don't want to see the stronger ones can do. It's bad to say this, but I'm kind of glad that most of the clan was wiped off during that insurrection." "Do you think Karu will score a promotion, sensei?" Amoe asked. Killer Bee crossed his arms, and started to think. Even if Karu's result was defeat, her fight was quite a feat. She did her very best, and I believe she passed this test, since even if she lost, she proved to be stronger than most. Let's hope the examiners share my view, and Karu becomes the first Chunin of this crew. "I hope you're right, sensei," T added. Yes. Another victory for the Uchiha clan. "Go Sasuke!" Shisui excitedly yelled, his fist high in the air. Then she looked at his girlfriend and smiled awkwardly. "And another victory for the medical squad too. I didn't forget about that. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy that Sasuke won, but, well." Shizune grew uneasy. It's kind of a bummer seeing the only non-medic of the medical squad doing well. And after this victory, Sasuke's promotion is pretty much assured. If only Karin had won her match too. Look at the bright side. Your team was the only one besides Team Kurenai who got more than one Jinan to the finals. Plus the only Jinan of the other respective 3 teams also lost their fights as well, Shisui pointed out. The Chunin hopefuls for this year's exam are pretty powerful, and not just the ones from Konoha. You'll see how Sakura and Karin do much better the next time. Yeah. Maybe the next exam there won't be any Jinchuriki, Shizune mentioned, once again seeing how Jinchuriki had become the bane of her team. While the rakeage didn't make it evident, Karu's defeat left him fuming. It appeared that not even somebody as loud and prone to anger as wanted to throw a tantrum in front of other Tsukages. It wasn't sure how did he feel towards Shibuki. However, the amount of killing intent he was radiating evidenced his mood. Itachi's small but still noticeable smirk didn't help either. Don't get mad, rakeage. Karu put an incredible fight against Sasuke. Plus it's not that she didn't give her village a prior victory, Jiraiya began. If I was an examiner, I would recommend her for a promotion. The rakeage turned his head at Jiraiya and shot him a chilling glare. You haven't seen me mad yet, Hokage. And pray you would not be present if such day arrives. As Sasuke allowed himself to relax, he noticed how much chakra he had expended for the fight, and how sore his muscles were. Unless his opponents ended up in the same predicament, there was no way he could give it all in the final. He entered the competitor's box, hoping for the next 2 matches to be as long as possible so he could have some time to rest his tired body. Hey, Sasuke! Naruto's loud voice called. He looked at the blonde. Nice work you did out there. Thank you, Sasuke replied in a polite tone. It would be a shame if you lost before we could get to fight, Naruto added, laughing a bit. For that to happen, you still have 1 match to win, Sasuke reminded him. And while your girlfriend doesn't look like much at first sight, her match showed that there's more to her than meets the eye. Haha, yeah, Hinata is pretty strong and, hey, wait a minute, girlfriend? Naruto asked, blushing a bit. You two aren't exactly subtle. And frankly, it's getting kind of annoying now, Sasuke stated. Then, do you think it's true that she might like me back? Naruto asked, lowering his voice so Hinata couldn't pick up the conversation. Sasuke just stared at his blonde rival. Sometimes, I wonder how the hell you got so far with that empty head of yours. Hey! Naruto protested. It was the second time somebody told him that. Take that back. I'm as smart as I'm strong. But then again, what you lack in brains, you make up in raw power and determination, so I think you should be good, Sasuke added. I won't bid you good luck, since good ninja don't rely on such a thing. Thanks? The blonde then headed towards Hinata, who was at the edge of the waiting area, absent-mindedly looking at the arena. Is she just as nervous to fight me as I am to fight her? Naruto wondered. The two of them were the only ones who would have to fight a teammate. Hey, Hinata, you ready? Ready as I'll ever be, Hinata replied. Thanks again for sharing some of your chakra with me, I don't think I'd have any strength to fight if it wasn't for that. Hey, then the match would be no fun, right? Naruto asked, and laughed a bit. So, should we get going? Hinata nodded, and started walking alongside Naruto. Look, Nichin's about to fight again. Hanabi excitedly pointed out as Hinata and Naruto walked into the arena. Hope she will use the Heavenly Thunderstorm again. Heavenly Thunderstorm? Hikari replied, confused. Yeah, that move she used to knock out her earlier opponent. Because that definitely wasn't a heavenly spin, that's why I gave it another, more fitting name, Hanabi explained. I want to see it again. Even then, that move seemed to be the result of hasty improvisation, Hikari replied. And I don't think it will work against such a skilled opponent like Naruto-kun. And that's not even counting that he's a wind type. It can't be, Neji said in awe, his Byakugan activated. What's wrong, son? His father asked him. Hinata-sama's chakra reserves, they're completely full. The Hyuga prodigy pointed out. Hikari raised an eyebrow. That can't be right. The heavenly thunderstorm drained a good chunk of her chakra, she activated her own Byakugan, and noticed that her nephew was right. Impossible. Maybe she ate a ration pill? Hisashi suggested. So are we calling it heavenly thunderstorm? Good, Hanabi said, pleased. Let's hope Nichin also likes the name. So, Naruto and Hinata are about to fight. Now I know how Shizune felt when Naruto fought Sakura, Kurenai said. I can't root for one over the other. Try to think that whoever wins, one of your Genin will go to the finals, Asuma told her. I would have preferred it if both of them made it to the finals. Kurenai dejectedly replied. Hey, at least one of your Genin will go there. My only Genin lost the first round, Asuma reminded her. And in the end, there can only be one winner. By the way, given that they're your students, who do you think it's going to win? That's easy. Naruto, no contest, Kurenai flatly replied. Asuma raised an eyebrow in surprise. Wow, that was fast. You didn't even take a minute to think about it. Is the difference between their skill and power that big? Not just between them. I'd say Naruto is way stronger than most of his former classmates. The only ones who would give him a challenge are Sasuke Uchiha, Neji Hyuga, Rock Lee, and maybe Tenten. It was commonly assumed that all Jinnan, Chunin, etc., had more or less the same skill and power, but that was a lie product of oversimplification. There could be a huge difference between two ninjas sporting the same rank. Both Kurenai and Asuma were Jonin, but while Kurenai was recently promoted after staying a few years as a special Jonin mostly thanks to her talent with Genjutsu, Asuma managed to reach the rank before he was 18, just like Guy and Kakashi. And it was unlikely that other special Jonin she knew, such as Anko or Ebisu, would even be promoted anytime soon. The 5 mentioned by Kurenai could be considered elite Jinnan. They were so above the average Jinnan, that their rank was pretty much in name only, which was a testament of their skill and strength. When they were promoted, they would only remain as Chunin for a couple years at most before they were promoted again to Jonin or at least special Jonin. Most of their teammates would take much longer to achieve such rank, that's it, if they managed to move past Chunin. Well, Sasuke is a finalist. If Naruto makes it to the finals too, at the very least we'll get an exciting fight to see. Come on Naruto, you have to make me a rich woman, Tsunade stated in excitement, holding a multitude of betting tickets against her chest. But after Temari, Hinata shouldn't be much of a challenge. You're forgetting about Naruto-kun's feelings for Hinata, Tsunade-sama, Shizune reminded her. And thus it might hamper his performance. Not to mention that Hinata isn't as weak as she looks. Tsunade frowned. That brat better listen to his brain instead of his hormones. If he knows what's good for him. Go, Naruto Niazan, Hagane yelled. But don't hit Hinata too hard or else she won't want to marry you. Kaida added. God damn it, why can't they keep those brats silent? Naruto cursed inwardly. He then looked at Hinata, who was blushing, and staring to the ground. Great, they made Hinata upset. Combatants ready? Yu Gao asked, looking at both the blonde and the brunette, who looked rather uneasy but nothing seemed apparently wrong. In that case the 8th match of the Chunin exam finals, between Naruto Uzumaki, from Konoha, and Hinata Hyuga, from Konoha. The purple-haired woman raised her hand in the air. Begin. Hinata raised her head, no longer blushing, her face no longer appeared bashful, but now reflecting a look of determination. I know I can't win this fight. Naruto-kun is way too strong for me, Hinata thought. But that doesn't mean that I shouldn't give my very best. For Naruto-kun. For my family. For my promotion. I'll make sure this is a fight no one will ever forget. Byakugan. Hinata's bloodline activated, and adopted a fighting stance. Naruto grinned and made the hand seal of his most used jutsu. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A multitude of clones appeared alongside him. Hinata wasn't fazed, she was already used to it, thanks to the countless hours she sparred against Naruto. Though she had to remind herself that this time Naruto would go all out against her. Attack! Upon the order was issued, the clones charged forward. Some of them pulled a few kunai and shuriken and tossed them at the Hyuga. Hinata also pulled out a couple kunai, and used them to deflect the incoming projectiles. However, while she did so, most Narutos were already in close combat range. This didn't deter Hinata in the slightest, though. 8 trigrams, 32 palms. 2 palms. 4 palms. 8 palms. 16 palms. 32 palms. Each strike was a precise blow that managed to dispel each clone, until only the original remained in the back. Seeing it was her turn to attack, Hinata made several hand seals. Lightning release, thunderbolt. An array of blue lightning bolts flew from her fingers at the confident blonde, which also made several hand seals of his own. Wind release, wind wall. A tornado formed around Naruto, which easily stopped and dispelled Hinata's electrical attack. However, while he was doing so, Hinata used the moment to close the gap between them, and ready to palm strike. Come on Hinata, I've sparred against you countless times, I know how to block the gentle fist. Naruto thought as he was about to push Hinata's wrist aside. However, much to his surprise, Hinata's hand closed into a fist, and instead of aiming at one of his easiest to close tenketsu in the chest, the Hyuga moved her fist towards his face. This sudden change made Naruto fail to deflect the attack, and given that Hinata was using Tsunade's chakra-enhanced strength to the best of her ability, it resulted in a painful hit that sent the Jinchuriki flying backwards until his body slammed against the arena's wall. Oh man, I knew that Sakura wouldn't be the last time mom's technique would come back to bite me in the ass. Naruto thought as he got back on his feet and rubbed his hurt face, trying his best to ignore the pain. Nice one, Hinata. Didn't see that coming. Thanks, Hinata replied, not dropping her fighting stance. I know I can't defeat you if I am predictable. Hinata then formed several hand seals, which Naruto knew too well. Lightning release, thunder palm. Hinata's hands started to crackle with electricity. Her signature jutsu now active, the Hyuga Eris charged at Naruto. Shadow clone jutsu. A barrier of orange-clad clones appeared between Hinata and the original Naruto. Without Naruto having to tell them anything, the clone army charged at Hinata. The first clone managed to sink his fist into Hinata's gut, who strangely enough made no effort to defend herself. And vanished in a cloud of smoke, leaving a large rock in her place. What the? The blonde had no time to think before Hinata suddenly appeared in close-quarter combat range and managed to deliver a couple lightning-charged palm strikes to Naruto's gut and the right shoulder. Clutching his injured areas, Naruto jumped back. Hinata tried to continue her onslaught, but the clones once again got in the way. Lightning release, 8 trigrams 32 thunder strikes. While Hinata destroyed the clones, Naruto used the mystical palm jutsu to heal the zones Hinata had damaged with her sneak attack. He managed to heal his shoulder completely when Hinata destroyed the last of his clones. Damn it, since when did Hinata become this aggressive? Naruto asked in disbelief. I might have to use the Rasengan if she keeps such a pace. After she was done with the clones, Hinata wasted no time and went for the original Naruto, still healing himself. However, upon seeing his teammate turn temporary enemy, Naruto stopped and made several hand seals. Wind release, cyclone vortex. Naruto projected an horizontal cyclone from his hands, which caught Hinata just a couple meters before she could reach him in close combat, and violently knocked her backwards, making her fall on her back. You almost got me there, Hinata, Naruto praised as he tossed a couple kunai with a flaming seals on them, much to Hinata's horror. The Hyuga tried to get up as fast as possible while Naruto made the same hand seals as before. Wind release, cyclone vortex. This time, Naruto only used one hand to cast his most used wind jutsu, resulting in a weaker version. When the cyclone passed over the flaming seals, Naruto made a hand seal with his other hand in order to activate them. The seals exploded in 2 balls of fire, which merged with the cyclone into a tornado of flames. Vacuum palm wall. Hinata thrust both hands forward, releasing a huge vacuum shell that clashed against the vortex of fire. The collision of both attacks resulted in a huge explosion. Even if its shockwave wasn't strong enough to knock down either combatant, it raised quite a few clouds of smoke and dust. This is my chance. I can see through the smoke while Naruto-kun can't. Hinata thought as she charged forward. However, Naruto wasn't stupid, and knew that Hinata would use the smoke and dust to her advantage, and prepared a countermeasure. Wind release, great breakthrough. Naruto expelled a powerful stream of wind through his mouth, quickly dispelling the large cloud of smoke and dust obscuring most of the arena, and revealing Hinata dashing at him. However, the moment he just finished that jutsu, Hinata grabbed something from her tool pouch and tossed it to the ground, revealing to be a smoke bomb when it detonated and created a second cloud of smoke, one that Naruto wouldn't have enough time to dispel. Of course, that didn't mean that Naruto was defenseless, not in the slightest. Shadow clone jutsu. Once again, a barrier of clones appeared in front of Naruto. Thank goodness this jutsu is instant, or else I would be screwed, Naruto thought in relief. And even with the Byakugan, Hinata has no way of telling which is the real me. She'll have to fight against the clones while I dispel the smoke. Wait, why I don't hear my clones fighting? The answer came a couple seconds later in the form of an unexpected explosion that completely poofed all the clones instantly, while sent Naruto rolling backwards against the arena's wall. So she threw an explosive tag at my clones instead of directly attacking herself. Oh boy, she's taking this not being predictable thing very seriously. Naruto groaned as he stood up. Come on Naruto-kun. I know that you're much stronger than this. Hinata called as she dashed at him. She's right. I'm not giving it all. Is it because I like her? Because she's my friend and teammate? He thought. Yet Hinata is fighting with every ounce of her power. Yes, I can't hold back. I have to fight against her as if she was any other enemy. With new resolve, Naruto made several hand seals just in time before Hinata could hit him with a palm strike. Wind release, cyclone shockwave. A tornado formed around Naruto, creating a windy shield that pushed Hinata back whenever she tried to touch him. Naruto poured more chakra into the jutsu, increasing the power of the tornado, which now it didn't just kept Hinata away, but it also sent her flying back several meters. Naruto then tossed a shuriken at her before making several hand seals. Shadow Clone Shuriken Jutsu. The single shuriken turned into 50, and much to Hinata's shock, she found a swarm of steel stars flying at her. Multiple vacuum palms. Hinata thrust one palm forward at a time, a quick pace, releasing a barrage of vacuum shells that managed to block the incoming shuriken. Though even with the Byakugan, Hinata was so focused on stopping the shuriken barrage that she didn't notice Naruto sneaking upon her until he was at close quarter range. And much to Hinata's confusion, Naruto engaged her in taijutsu combat. Taken aback by such an unexpected action, Hinata was forced to fall back before Naruto's barrage of not very refined but very strong punches and kicks. Still, once the shock wore off, Hinata once again gained the upper hand. It was Naruto the one being pushed back. Naruto put some distance by jumping back before being overwhelmed, something Hinata took advantage of, and made several hand seals. Lightning release, Thunder Palm. Hinata's hands cracked with electricity once more as she lunged at Naruto, ready to deliver a palm strike. Naruto wouldn't have time to make the seals of one of his many wind jutsu. However, he did have a jutsu that took no time to cast. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Another army of orange-wearing blondes appeared in a circle surrounding Hinata. The Hyuga, however, ignored them and decided to focus on the original. The palm strike connected, and Naruto disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Clone replacement. Of course, Hinata thought. Byakugan or not, you won't be able to defend from an attack that comes from all directions. All the Naruto clones stated as they charged her. Hinata's mouth formed an uncharacteristic smirk. That's where you're wrong, Naruto-kun. Even if it was a risky move, there was no other option. Hinata spread the lightning chakra from her hands to the rest of her body, as she started to spin. Naruto was too late to stop upon realizing what she was going to do. Heavenly Spin. Hinata turned into a spinning thunderstorm, releasing lightning bolts in every direction, that instantly poofed all the Naruto clones, while blasting the original back several meters. Still, the blonde could help but notice that this version of Hinata's new attack was much less destructive than the one before, maybe because the second time Hinata knew how to control it a bit better, and not to use so much chakra on it. When Hinata was done spinning, she wasn't dizzy, and her body was still flickering with electricity. Damn, that attack again, Naruto stated as he got up. I can't believe I forgot about that. I think I'm starting to get the hang of it, Hinata said, mildly satisfied. Come on Naruto-kun, I'm sure you have a way to counter this. I do, Naruto admitted. But I was hoping I could defeat you without having to resort to it. Guess I have no choice. Naruto extended his arm, and on his hand a sphere of chakra began to form. Okay Hinata, you're going to be the first to witness the jutsu I've been working on this past month. Are you ready? Ready as I'll ever be, Naruto-kun. Through her Byakugan, Hinata saw that despite its relatively small size, the sphere had an incredibly dense chakra. If all that chakra were to be released at once, the effect would be devastating. That jutsu is way too powerful for any Genin to resist. If my version of the heavenly spin can do the trick. The Hyuga thought. Naruto dashed at Hinata, holding the chakra sphere on one hand. Hinata wasted no time and started to spin again. Heavenly Spin. Fortunately, Naruto was close enough to her to use his trump card before Hinata's defense could knock him back. Rasengan. Both attacks collided, trying to overpower each other. However, after a few seconds of struggle, the Rasengan started to expand, while Hinata's spinning speed started to slow down. The result was a massive explosion, blasting both combatants flying in opposite directions, landing with a loud thud. When the smoke dispersed, everybody saw Naruto and Hinata down on the ground, immobile. People started to murmur, wondering what could have happened, and the possibility of a double knockout. However, after a couple seconds, Naruto started to get up. Yu Gao went to check Hinata. She was still miraculously conscious, albeit in great pain. Her whole body trembled. She tried to move, but her body was too exhausted. Meanwhile, Naruto was already back on his feet. The winner was clear. Hinata is no condition to fight. Winner of the 8th match, Naruto. The purple-haired woman declared. There will be a recess of 10 minutes before the next round begins. Yes. Naruto cheered. Not even the thought of his crush and best friend being already out of the competition by his own hand, no less was enough to keep the blonde down. He then walked towards Hinata, still lying on the ground. Hinata? And Naruto-kun. The Hyuga replied in a whisper. How was I? You were amazing. The Jinchuriki beamed. I had no idea you were so powerful. There were some times I thought I was going to lose. You would never lose, against somebody, like me. Hinata replied. Don't sell yourself so short, Hinata. Like you said before, you wouldn't have gotten so far if you didn't deserve it, Naruto told her. Hinata smiled. I guess, you're right. It will be a pity that I won't be able to see you in the finals. Pity indeed. But I know that you will be rooting for me, and that's enough, Naruto replied. The stadium's medicman arrived, and placed Hinata on a stretcher before they took her away. With nothing else for Naruto to do, the blonde returned to the waiting area. Haha, yes. Tsunade loudly cheered. Now if you excuse me, I have to make my fortune even bigger, Tsunade said before leaving to change all his tickets for cash, which she would use to buy more betting tickets. Shizune shook her head at Tsunade, but then smiled upon seeing Naruto talking with the downed Hinata. I think that this had to be Naruto's hardest fight so far. What are you saying? You told me the kind of opponents Naruto had to face before. Hinata wasn't among the strongest, Shisui pointed out. Shizune shook her head again. That's irrelevant. Hinata is Naruto's first and best friend for quite a long time. And his recent feelings for her go beyond mere friendship. Being forced to fight against such a person, even in a friendly and controlled environment like this one, is never easy. Let's hope Naruto, nor any of us, have to fight against a loved one again in the future. Shizune's words reminded Shisui of the night the Uchiha clan rebelled. Itachi probably had to fight and kill many clansmen he was close to, including his own father. The ninja world was a cruel place indeed. Hikari sighed in resignation. I had hopes that Hinata would be able to defeat Naruto-kun, but in the end it wasn't mean to be. Naruto is a very strong opponent. Hinata-sama never had a chance, Neji somberly stated. But the fact that she pressed Naruto so much in order to make him resort to such a powerful jutsu to defeat her speaks volumes. Does this mean that Hinata Nichin won't be Chunin anymore, mother? Hanabi asked. Hikari shook her head. She still has a chance if the examiners were impressed enough with her fights, Hanabi-chan. Well, I was impressed. Very impressed. Only an idiot wouldn't think that Hinata Nichin isn't good enough to be a Chunin, Hanabi stated. When Naruto returned to the competitor's box, he was greeted by the sight of the three remaining Genin, Sasuke, Gaara, and Fu. And soon one of the latter two would be out. Congratulations on your second victory, Naruto, Gaara told him. Yeah, it was a fight to remember. Fu added. See? I told you that you could defeat her, Sasuke told him. Even if she gave you a harder time than I expected. But then again, I could see you were holding back. I wasn't holding back. Naruto protested. Hinata is strong as hell. I mean, I had to use the Rasengan to defeat her, while I was hoping I could show it when I was fighting either you or the other finalist. Speaking of which, I hate to admit it, but it was one hell of a jutsu, Naruto, Sasuke praised. Now I have to come up with something strong enough to surpass it. Ha! You'd wish. That jutsu was created by the fourth Hokage himself. Good luck coming up with something better, Naruto boasted. Sasuke crossed his arms, and snorted dismissively. Even the lowest of the Uchiha are geniuses compared to the average ninja, and I stand among the best of them. And with the help of Itachi Niazan and Shisui it won't even be a challenge. Naruto had the feeling that Sasuke's words weren't just empty boasts, but was looking forward to see what his rival would come up with. In fact, an idea was already brewing in Sasuke's mind. Meanwhile, in the cage box, two of the leaders present were eagerly expecting the next match, both with high hopes for their only representative. Well, Shibuki, your girl is indeed an impressive kunoichi, but she had the misfortune to be matched against Gaara, Raza stated, his lips forming a smile of superiority. There's no way she can defeat him. Shibuki wasn't going to let this bullying asshole to intimidate him or demean his village. And I admit that Gaara's defense is truly something to behold, but like that Konoha kunoichi proved, there's no such thing as an impenetrable defense. Maybe, but do you think that your girl can pierce it? You have her in too high esteem, it would seem, Raza replied. Fu is way more powerful than she lets on. You aren't the first one who underestimates her abilities, Shibuki rebuked. You mean because she's a Jinchuriki? Raza casually mentioned. Both Jiraiya and A raised an eyebrow, albeit in Jiraiya's case, he was pretending to be surprised, while Shibuki paled for the second time that day. Oh, don't give me that look, the girl isn't exactly subtle. That careless attitude will get her killed one day. Say, How about if we enjoy the fight instead? Jiraiya intervened before the discussion could get more heated. Besides, it will be a good way of finding out which one is right. Gaara and Fu walked into the arena. Since this fight involved two foreign ninjas, the public didn't show as much interest as in previous match. Still, there was a noticeable number of people eager to see them fight, simply because the red-haired boy and the green-haired girl proved to be very strong ninja, and their fight would be everything but boring. Don't think I forgot what you did, Fu stated in an oddly threatening tone. And I didn't forgive you. A confused Gaara raised a non-existent eyebrow. This was the first time he even traded a line with the bizarre girl, so he couldn't help but wonder what he did to merit such reaction. I'm afraid I don't know what are you talking about, Gaara replied in his usual calmness. Ha! Don't think that by pretending to have amnesia that I'm going to go easy on you. Fu replied, as she stomped her foot on the ground. I'm being sincere. I never saw you in my life, so I don't know what kind of felony I did to enrage you so much, Gaara insisted. In that case, I'll refresh your memory, you eliminated Shino from the exams. Fu dramatically stated as she pointed an accusatory finger at Gaara. And as his friend and hopefully something more one day it is my duty to avenge him. Oh, was all what Gaara said. See? That's what I was talking about. Ino told Shikamaru. The lazy Nara merely rolled his eyes in annoyance. Did she? Kiba began, a bit flabbergasted. Did she loudly shout that she wants to be more than just friends with you, Shino? So it seems, Shino replied in his usual stoicism. I believe that this deserves a thorough conversation with her in order to establish the kind of relationship we want. No offense, Shino, but I never thought you were the type of guy that could get a girl fall for him so fast, Kakashi commented. Then again, as kids your age usually say, chicks dig mysterious guys. None taken, Shino replied. She's a great girl, but I don't know her that much. Plus the fact that she's from another village would make it even more complicated. Do I really want a relationship with her? The Aburame heir thought. Seeing that they no longer traded any more words, Hyuga thought it was about time to begin. You two ready? In that case the 9th match of the Chunin exam finals, between Gaara, from Suna, and Fu, from Taki. The purple-haired woman raised her hand in the air. Begin. Sand started to pour from Gaara's word the second Hyuga's last word left her lips. For her part, Fu stepped backwards and made several hand seals. Water release, water bullet jutsu. Fu released a powerful stream of water from her mouth. Gaara's sand automatically erected a barrier around him. However, the barrier soaked the water, becoming mud in the process. Just like Fu had planned. Summoning her wings, the green-haired flew at Gaara, plowing through the softened sand barrier, her fist reared back ready to punch the Suna ninja's face. However, much to her surprise, the sand erected a second barrier centimeters from Gaara's face, which managed to absorb the force of the green-haired girl's punch. When the sand moved to wrap around her, Fu quickly flew upwards, escaping a potential defeat. My turn, Gaara said as he made a hand seal. Wind release, sand shuriken. Deadly sand projectiles flied at Fu at an amazingly fast speed. The flying kunoichi had a hard time matching their speed, and while she managed to dodge most of them, one of her wings was hit, nullifying her flying ability, and making her to crash into the ground below, creating yet another crater in the arena. Ouch! Fu muttered as she climbed out of the crater. My wings, my beautiful wings. Sorry, Gaara stoically, but sincerely said. Will they heal? Yes. But it will take a lot of time. The green-haired girl protested. I see. Nevertheless, don't expect me to go easy on you because of that, and with a hand wave, Gaara launched a tide of sand at the Taki kunoichi. Fu instinctively deployed her wings, only to feel a wave of pain instead. Cursing, she was forced to run away in order to avoid being buried under the sand tsunami. Damn it. Was I so dependent on my wings that I'm this helpless without them? The green-haired girl cursed inwardly. No. I still have plenty of tricks to spare. I'll show the creepy kid and everybody else. Fu made a single hand seal. Hiding in the scale powder jutsu. Fu opened her mouth, and exhaled a large quantity of glittery powder, which reflected so much light that it blinded pretty much everybody. Fu took the chance and dashed at Gaara, reminding herself of not using her wings ready to punch his face. Unfortunately, her fist only connected with a wall of sand. What? The sand can act on its own? Fu asked, flabbergasted. Indeed, Gaara replied, as he rubbed his eyes. A thread of sand then coiled around Fu's legs. However, this is all my doing. Hey, what are you whoa? Gaara's sand whip started to repeatedly slam Fu into the ground, switching between swinging her to the left and to the right. Eventually, he let her go when he thought that she had enough. But Fu's resilience proved to be too much when the girl got up, as if the severe beating only gave her a minor headache. "Oh, wow, everything spins." Fu slurred as she grabbed her head with one hand. "I think I might have a concussion, so, are you going to ask me what do they feed me?" Gaara raised a non-existent eyebrow. "Why should I ask such a thing?" The green-haired girl shrugged. "I dunno. Everybody does. Usually after they beat me into the ground just like you did. I don't know what it has to do with anything, but it has been a thing since I got here." "I'm not from Konoha," the red-headed ninja stated in a neutral tone. "That might explain it. Anyway." Fu made a hand seal. Transformation jutsu. In a puff of smoke, Fu transformed into Gaara, much to everybody else's confusion. Fu pulled out 2 kunai and dashed at the Jinchuriki of the One Tail. "You didn't see that coming, do you?" Fu asked in Gaara's voice, but with her usual cheerful and chipper tone. However, when Fu tried to stab Gaara, she found herself hitting once again a wall of sand. Gaara wasted no time, and trapped her in a cocoon of sand which left only the head exposed. Her transformation was also undone. "I don't know what you were trying to do with that," Gaara began. "Well, I kinda noticed that your sand goes on its own, so I thought that maybe I could fool it by disguising myself as you," Fu explained, not too concerned about her current predicament. "Not a bad idea. Would have worked if the chakra that moves the sand wasn't connected to my very being," Gaara replied. "Then again, such a mistake will cost you this match." Fu smiled widely. "No, it won't." And she disappeared in a poof of smoke, leaving a log behind. Gaara felt a current of air at his back, and turned around to see Fu with her fist reared back, said fist surrounded by a small tornado. Hurricane punch. Once again, Gaara's ultimate defense triggered, making a wall of sand that absorbed the impact of the punch. However, it failed to absorb the burst of wind the attack unleashed, which sent Gaara flying back several meters. The sand, however, made a cushion that softened the fall. "Now is my chance," Fu said as she dashed towards Gaara, as wind began to whirl around her arms. When she closed the gap, she thrust both arms forward. Double hurricane punch. Fu released 2 powerful horizontal tornadoes that managed to bypass Gaara's sand shield and hit the Suna ninja, who promptly burst into sand. "Like I already told you, you already lost," Gaara's voice said behind her. Fu tried to turn back, but she couldn't, looking down. She saw her legs being trapped by sand, leaving her stuck. Threads of sand started to dangerously whirl around her. "Please surrender," Gaara continued as she walked towards her, his arm extended. "I do not wish to cause you more harm than necessary. And I told you that if you expect me to give up, you have another thing coming." Fu defiantly replied, as she struggled with the sand trapping her feet, unable to break free. She rummaged through her ninja pouch hoping to find something that could help with her current predicament, when her fingers touched something she had forgotten was there. Pulling it out, she saw it was a vial with a blue liquid on it. Shibuki had given her that vial, and told her to only use it on a life or death situation. The green-haired girl wondered if she should drink the vial or not. On one hand, this wasn't a life or death situation. She could easily surrender, and go back home completely unscratched. But on the other hand, what would people think of her village if its only representative walked away when things got difficult? No, giving up wasn't an option. Shibuki had trusted the village's future to her, and she couldn't betray that trust. Her decision already made, Fu opened the vial and drank its contents. At that moment, a second sand cocoon formed around her body, leaving only her head exposed. "I believe you don't have another body replacement prepared in advance," Gaara guessed. "So this." The effects of the vial were immediate. Fu felt a surge of power rushing through her body, and her chakra flared, forming a glowing blue aura around her. It was so potent, it was able to push the sand away, breaking the cocoon. "Oh yes. This is amazing." Fu yelled at the top of her lungs. "Get ready for the worst beating of your life, redhead." And the green-haired girl vanished in front of him. "No," Shibuki yelled as he got up from his chair and rushed towards the edge of the box. "No, no, 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 no." "What's wrong, Shibuki-san?" Jiraiya asked, confused. "Fu seems to be doing pretty good so far. Why the outburst?" You don't get it," Shibuki replied, shaken. "What Fu did, I told her only to do it under extreme circumstances, but guessed that I had to specify that these matches didn't count. Tell me, Jiraiya, do you know about the treasure of my village?" Fu didn't recover the ability to fly, but she was moving so fast it barely made a difference. Coupled with her hard hits, the green-haired girl had become a genuine threat. Why do I always have to fight against people who outspeed my sand? Gaara internally complained. Then again, not all victories can be as easy as against the bug ninja. Fu snapped Gaara from his thoughts thanks to a well-aimed punch. Even if his sand armor absorbed most of the impact, he could still feel the pain of the punch. Before Fu had time to continue her onslaught, the redhead called the sand back and used it to form a protective dome. Fu began to wildly pound on the dome, which started to crack. Gaara made a hand seals, and huge sand spikes grew in every direction, forcing the Seven Tails Jinchuriki to jump back. Do you think you can hide from me? Fu yelled as he made several hand seals. Water release, water bullet jutsu. Fu expelled from her mouth an incredibly powerful stream of water, almost like a torrent, towards the sand dome, which was unable to hold the attack, and crumbled down as it absorbed the water and turned into mud. Gaara used his remaining sand to propel himself upwards. Fu smirked. Gotcha. In a split second, Fu leapt into the air, and found herself in front of Gaara. However, before she could punch him again, she noticed a tentacle of sand wrapping around her leg. Oh shit, not this again. The sand tentacle only slammed her against the floor once. However, Gaara was already preparing his next attack, and 5 streams of sand were already upon her. Making use of her newfound speed and agility, Fu skillfully dodged the constant sand attacks, but she was unable to find an opening to attack. Eventually, Fu made a mistake and didn't dodge a sand stream, which made her lose her balance and fell down on her butt. Now, Gaara thought as he quickly brought his palms together. Sand tsunami. Gaara used all his sand, and then some, to bury Fu alive. He used every ounce of his strength to keep her underneath. If he was able enough to contain her until she lost consciousness, the match would be over. Unfortunately, it didn't last as long as he had expected. All that sand wasn't enough to contain Fu, which burst from the sand tomb with an overwhelming force. All those present noticed that her blue aura had turned red. I'm sick of your sand, Fu bellowed as she dived at him. Gaara managed to jump backwards before the green-haired meteor hit the ground, adding yet another crater to the ground. The arena floor was mostly craters right now, but that didn't deter her in the slightest. Hokage-sama, you have to stop this. Shibuki pleaded. Jiraiya nodded indeed. I know how dangerous can. You won't do such a thing, Hokage, Raza interjected. Jiraiya looked at his fellow Kage as if he grew a second head. Are you mad, Kazekage? Fu is losing control of her tailed beast. She's a danger to everybody, herself included. I'm aware of the dangers, Hokage. But I'm sure Gaara can handle this, Raza reassured. He looked at the arena, oddly satisfied. You'll see it now. Upon seeing her new chakra cloak, it didn't take long for Shino to put 2 and 2 and deduce the source of the girl's strange powers. So, she's a Jinchuriki like Naruto and Gaara, the Aburame thought. This is an interesting turn of events. Die, Fu yelled as she dashed towards Gaara once again. Her chakra cloak had taken the form of a beetle, with a tail forming on its back. I can't believe I have to resort to this a second time. Gaara thought as he made a hand seal. Ultimately hard absolute defense, shield of Shukaku. Another hat-wearing replica of Shukaku appeared between Gaara and Fu, except this time it was twice as big as the one he summoned against Tenten. Undeterred, Fu crashed against the sand shield, and in her enraged state, rather than simply circumventing it, she tried to tear it down with the force of her fists. Each hit boomed loudly through the whole stadium, and soon the Shukaku replica started to crumble, until a particularly strong punch tore it in half. Yes. Destroyed. Now you go knee. Ultimately hard absolute attack, spear of Shukaku. Fu didn't have time to ask where did Gaara got that halberd, apparently made of sand, before he embedded it into her shoulder, and pinned her into the ground. Ah! She screamed as she futilely tried to remove the spear from her shoulder. However, it didn't bulge. Little by little, as the pain increased, Fu noticed how her strength withered away. Even the tailed beast chakra could only help her so far, and her red aura flickered away. Eventually, the immense pain combined with her diminishing strength made the green-haired girl to lose consciousness. Once Gaara made sure that she was out, he undid the spear, which turned back into sand. Hyuga went to check the fallen kunoichi. She was badly wounded, but alive. She gestured the medic Nin in order to take her away. Fu can't keep fighting. Winner of the 9th match, and 3rd finalist, Gaara. Hyuga announced. There will be a recession of 15 minutes before the final match begin. Unlike the previous rounds, the finalists will receive medical attention before the match begins. See? I told you Gaara could handle her, Raza told Shibuki while sporting an incredibly smug smile. And, as you can see, she isn't exactly careful with her Jinchuriki status. After that display, you can forget about keeping it a secret. Shibuki sighed in defeat. I should have never given her the hero water, but I wanted her to be safe. Kakashi had told Jiraiya about the hero water when he and his team escorted Shibuki to Taki a few weeks ago. It was a special liquid produced by the great tree of Taki once every 100 years. Drinking it greatly increased the power of your chakra for a short time, but the backlash would potentially harm the body in a permanent way, similar to the celestial gates. And as it was shown moments ago, if a Jinchuriki drank it, not only increased the power of their chakra, but of their tailed beast as well, which would make the Jinchuriki to lose control of their power. Hokage-sama, is it okay if I go to the infirmary to check on Fu? Shibuki asked, ignoring the Kazekage. Sure you can, but you're going to miss the final match, Jiraiya told him. Shibuki chuckled sadly. Given that no Taki ninja takes part, I don't have much interest in seeing it. I have no doubt it will be spectacular. Reikage dono, Kazekage dono, if you excuse me. And Shibuki left the cage box. Not that A or Raza minded. In fact, the latter seemed to be satisfied that there were only Cage and their bodyguards present. Truth be told, I didn't have any interest in the match either, and was tempted of using Shibuki's excuse as well, but it would be seen as a gesture inappropriate for a Cage, and thus decided to stay. Well Kazekage, the final match will begin shortly. Aren't you excited? Because I certainly am, Jiraiya told his fellow Cage. Oh, yes, about that, Raza replied as if he suddenly remembered something. Do you think I'm an idiot? I know what you're planning. The two Konoha Genin will double-team Gaara to kick him out of the fight as early as possible, so they can hog the spotlight. I won't tolerate such thing happening. The Toad Sage raised an eyebrow. What? You can't be sure of that. Besides, Naruto has a bond with Gaara since both of them are Jinchuriki. Maybe it's them who team up against Sasuke. Or nobody teams up and it's a three-way brawl. I stand by my demands, Hokage. I want a different outcome, Raza insisted. And what do you want me to do? There are only 3 Genin left, and I can't kick one of them out of the competition like that. Easy. Have the 2 Konoha Genin fight each other. The winner can fight Gaara, Raza suggested. Are you insane? I'm not going to do such a thing that would put my Genin in a such disadvantageous position. Jiraiya fired back, indignant. Okay, I know that I'm asking much without giving something else in return. Raza then looked around, as if trying to come up with something, until his eyes rested on Zabuza. How about if I drop all charges against Zabuza? I believe it's a generous offer. Jiraiya pondered the Kazekage's words. Not having to dealt with Zabuza's past crimes against Suna later was indeed a plus. On one hand, only one Konoha Genin would make it to the finals, and said Genin would be more tired than Gaara, giving the redhead an easy victory, and a lot of publicity to Suna. On the other hand, Naruto and Sasuke were 2 of the most, if not the most, powerful Genin right now. Even if it wasn't the finals, a match between them would also impress Konoha's current and potential customers. Besides, it's possible that such gamble would backfire on Raza. Some people would see it as a cowardly gesture, that Suna is too afraid to face difficult odds. If that's what he wanted, then so be it. Alright, I accept your terms. On the condition that the winner will also be healed once again before he faces Gaara, Jiraiya added. I find it reasonable. We have a deal, then? Raza said with a smirk of superiority. Good. Jiraiya didn't know how much longer he could resist before he succumbed to the burning desire of strangling Raza to death. Meanwhile, in the arena, after being properly healed, the 3 finalists were in front of Hyuga. Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto Uzumaki. Gaara. Congratulations for making to the finals, but the hardest part comes now. Sometimes, a fight will involve more than just 2 parties, and thus you will need to know how to. Hyuga was interrupted when Itachi's body flickered beside her, startling everybody there. Brother? Sasuke asked in confusion. Itachi whispered something inaudible at Hyuga's ear, who turned at him in surprise and mouthed something Sasuke identified as "You have to be kidding me," but Itachi was serious. His message once delivered, Itachi returned to the cage box. I have orders from Hokage-sama. There has been a change of plans, Hyuga said out loud. People started to murmur. There will be one more match. Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto Uzumaki will fight each other, and the winner will fight Gaara in the finals. What? Naruto asked in shock. That can't be true. Sasuke protested. And they weren't the only ones. The public erupted in a cacophony of loud complaints and boos, as well as insults towards Suna and the Kazekage. So, Gaara, please return to the competitor box. Sasuke, Naruto, prepare to fight. Alright guys, that's it for the video. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. As always, the rest of the story is already out over on Patreon, link to that will be in the description. Anyways, until next time, peace.